It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS, Denver's talk leader. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you won the lottery. You woke up in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us at the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Had a fantastic time, Bill, filling in for the great Pete Boyles.
Oh, that's nice.
Which was wild because my dad followed Peter Boyles.
Yep.
Before I was born.
Yeah.
I'm 42 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm filling in for Peter Boyles.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, it's weird for me too when we work and stuff with Pete, when I started producing him, then working with him, and now being able to call him like an on-air colleague, which is really bizarre because I knew his daughter Shannon when I was in college. So I knew Shannon before I knew Pete. So this is like even before I was like of drinking age. I knew Shannon and Pete. And so it's really bizarre.
Just keeps going, man.
I know.
But I will tell you this. I brought it up on the show on Saturday.
Yeah.
You and I kind of have a duet. You know,
Yep.
We go back and forth. I'll say the Jeff and Bill Show, and then you say Denver's talk leader. So for the last 8 or 9 months, we've had this little duet. And my duetting partner was not there.
No, I was there somewhere else.
So I fumbled around. I couldn't get the call lines right and all that. So.
Isn't it weird? And the issue is that it's weird when you work as a duo and then you have to go solo. It is weird because there's so many different things that happen inside of it. And for people that are longtime Pete listeners, this is a pro wrestling analogy. There's a difference between being a single wrestler in pro wrestling and a tag team wrestler in pro wrestling. There's a different dynamic working with a partner when you get in the ring versus getting in the ring and working solo. And Pete works solo, and it's a whole different ball game of when you get in, you have the callers, you have the topic, you have the guest, and that's a one-on-one, real, individual solo pro wrestling. But you and I do it as a tag team, and there are times in which we've had to find times and space for each other where, okay, you get in the ring and you start working, you do a couple of moves, and then I'm standing over on the side and you see me, you tag me in, I go in, I do a couple of moves, and every once in a while we both get in the ring, we do the big giant splash, and everybody goes, then and the phone lines light up, and then one of us pulls out, and it's this dynamic of tag team versus a solo wrestler. And you can see people, if you're a pro wrestling fan, that have that transition problem. They've done so well as a tag. Being a solo wrestler is more difficult because it's a different way of engaging. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
It was a lot of fun. I appreciated everybody calling in and texting. It was a great honor to fill in for Pete Boyles.
It is.
And Peter and I are going to swap, so he'll be in Friday with you, I believe, right?
Actually, no.
Is he doing his solo thing Friday?
Again, we had a conversation about this afterwards, and I apologize I couldn't join you on Saturday. I was working the other job, and we talked about it on Friday, and Pete works solo. Again, you don't put the solo wrestler in a tag team.
I thought maybe you guys might bring the band back because you produced him for a while.
For a long time, but that's a different relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't want Pete to have to think that he has to find space for me on this show because my name's on the show. Gotcha. And that's a different dynamic. And it would be weird for Pete to come in and then for me to be silent the entire time again because my name's on the show. I have no problem doing that. It just would be weird. I just thought, the idea that he comes in and then I'm nowhere to be found, even though I'm sitting right behind the glass in my usual seat. So we decided I'm going to take that morning off, which is perfectly fine with me. so I'm okay with that one. Yeah, so I'm okay with that. So,
the Jeff and Bill Show go all the way through Thursday, and then Pete will be filling in for us on Friday.
Which will be wonderful. That'll be a wonderful way to kick off the weekend for everybody.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah. We've got a lot to cover today. I've got my ballot guide out, which has stirred the pot a little bit on a few issues. We'll be covering that. If you need help on the 14 statewide ballot initiatives,
so many.
That doesn't even include everything your little county and city is going to put on there.
Yeah.
This is just statewide. There's 14 of them. I got a ballot guide for you that can help. If you go to jeffhunt.com, you'll see it at the very top there, ballot guide, and 14 thoughts of mine about the different ballot guides, ballot questions, so we could discuss those, debate those. I want to hear from you on that. JeffHunt.com is where the ballot guide resides. We'll give you an update on the election projection. Nate Silver's got some ideas out here. And then I woke up this morning to the New York Times. Trump shows signs of strength in Sunbelt battlegrounds, poll finds. I didn't think he was going to have any problems in Arizona and Georgia. I thought he would probably lock those up. I still think it all comes down to Pennsylvania. We'll discuss that a little bit later. And then Yasmin Navarro, candidate for State Board of Education in District 8, will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. So a lot to talk about. But Blake, Saturday night, CU Buffs. Holy cow. Holy cow. I mean, that was right up there with the Michigan game, with the Flutie game, the Hail Mary
that was incredible.
In the rain.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive, no doubt. I mean, Baylor is down. I know CU fans are excited. That's great. Baylor's not the Baylor that they were, I don't know, a decade ago or whatever, but that's a huge win. And doing it in overtime, it's crazy.
It's about as dramatic as it gets, right?
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
They're driving down, no time left. They got time for 2 plays, and it bounces off the chest on the first play of the guy who could have scored a touchdown.
Right.
So, 7 seconds left, throws it down, bounces off the chest, and you're just like, oh my goodness. Now we're down to 2 seconds. He goes out to the left, and then I thought he got hit before he even threw the ball, but for some reason he's able to get it out. And then in the rain, in the end zone, down on his knees, he gets his elbows just underneath to be able to catch. And then they go into overtime, and Travis Hunter in overtime stopping the touchdown on the half yard, on like the quarter inch mark.
Yeah, that he's a freak. There's no question about it. He's a freak. I think Mark Anderson was there. I was in East Texas, in the red dirt and woods of East Texas for UNC and Stephen F. Austin. I was reading about it and saw some of the highlights. And Mark Anderson sent me a photo. He was there. I could see him in the south end zone. So, yeah, it's great, man.
Mark Anderson rushed the field?
No, I don't think he rushed the field. But then again, I wouldn't put it past him.
True.
No, I saw. I think he was with one of his sons in the stands,
and that was only the first of the huge, monumental sporting things that happened over the weekend. Of course, nobody else listening to the show will have watched Manchester City and Arsenal yesterday morning.
Oh, what happened there?
Because City and Arsenal are supposed to be the top 2 teams in the Premier League. Arsenal is the 4-time defending champ. City's the 4-time defending champ. Arsenal is chasing them. Arsenal should be the challenger. They are playing at the Etihad in Manchester City, and Arsenal goes up 2-1 in the first half. They're up 2-1 on Manchester City, the reigning champions. And then they get one of their players tossed. So the second half, they have to play with 10 men against the champions.
What did he do?
Here's the thing. Basically, it was kind of crap. He charged into someone behind him and hit him kind of hard. The problem was he did something stupid earlier in the match that is an automatic yellow card. So he set himself up. Leandro Trossard, French player, set himself up to be thrown off. So he got thrown off at the tail end of the first half. Second half, Arsenal has to basically what they call park the bus. You take all of your defenders and you put them between the penalty box lines and you just play in a block.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah. And so City is trying the entire time to break them open, the entire time. Nothing's working. And Arsenal is just defending their rear ends off. Not 1, not 2, not 5, but 8 minutes into extra time, off a volley, John Stones puts the ball in the back of the net for Manchester City, and they take a tie away from the game.
He's got some.
Yeah, so the idea is 40. He does. So 45 minutes plus of defending. That's all. Arsenal did not take a shot in the second half. 45 minutes of defending as hard as they possibly could, and they lose it at the end. It was incredible to watch. And again, it was
what
much
time
like,
did this happen?
They played at 9:30 in the morning our time. Yeah.
So you were up watching it at 9:30.
Buddy, I was up before that. The thing is, it
You were
reminded me.
tailgating at 6:30.
It reminded me of the CU game because it was that idea of CU was fighting back, and then it was tied, and they had to do something in order to get to overtime. And it was the same type of a thing where CU had to throw this long Hail Mary pass in order to even get to overtime. That's what Manchester City was doing, and they both scored, and they both were able to turn it around. So it was kind of cool. Yeah,
that's awesome. And the Broncos played extremely well, man.
Like we knew what we were doing. Heck? Holy crap. Wow. That was amazing.
That was very impressive.
Broncos look good. Then the Chiefs were, hugging in the end zone and not getting flagged for pass interference. So they were robbed. The Falcons were yesterday.
Yeah, they were a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. There seems to be a deference to the Chiefs right now. Yeah, as far as when the Chiefs do it, it's okay. And we've seen that. You've seen that with when the Lakers do certain fouls. It's okay if the Lakers do the certain fouls. It's okay. We all know how that is. Yes, and it's okay if the Yankees spend all the money as much money as God to buy a team. That's okay too. We're all okay with that.
That's right.
Yeah,
gotta keep the leagues going here.
Got to.
Had to keep the business running. Well, good talking to you both. And yes, it was an amazing game on Saturday, Jeff. No doubt about that in Boulder. 42 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 81 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, former President Trump says he doesn't think he would run for office again if he loses in November. Trump made the comment during an interview Sunday on the weekly news show Full Measure. He added, I think hopefully we're going to be successful. When asked about the possibility of appointing Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, or Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to cabinet positions if he wins, Trump says that it's too early, but did not rule anything out. The Trump campaign with a great new ad out reminding voters that Kamala Khan wants to use taxpayer money to pay for prisoners' sex changes. Here's part of it.
And illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Oh, that's a good one. For they, them, and Trump is for you. I like that one. Kamala Khan over the weekend.
Brother, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We will not go back. And it's great to be back in Madison.
Not going back, but you went back to Madison. Kash Patel hitting the sweet spot on the campaign trail again for Trump over the weekend.
Just think about it. In the 21st century of the United States of America, did you think a political party would illegally spend campaign dollars to hire a foreign intelligence asset from overseas and funnel fake, false information into the Federal Bureau of Investigation, only to have them go to a secret surveillance court, lie to a federal judge, just so that they could illegally surveil their political opponent? And as the president says, they're coming after you. He's just standing in the way. Well, I'm here to tell you it's time for us to stand with him and behind Donald J. Trump.
The White House is working to de-escalate tensions between Israel and Hezbollah. Speaking on ABC's This Week, National Security Communications Advisor spokesman, my Lord, is that a long enough title? John Kirby, I think he's the one that sounds like a teenager, said it's in neither side's best interest to wage military attacks at this time. He also admitted there hasn't been any significant progress in arranging a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. All Hamas has to do is surrender, and there won't be any fighting. That's not going to happen. Jurors are deciding if the man on trial was sane or insane when he gunned down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder 3 years ago. They began deliberations Friday after closing arguments. Prosecutors claim Ahmad Alissa planned the massacre, while the defense maintains he suffers from mental illness and didn't know right from wrong. Crews now have 90% of the Pearl fire contained, and all evacuations in Larimer County were lifted on Sunday. It sparked on private property near Red Feather Lakes and then quickly spread to Roosevelt National Forest, triggering a disaster emergency. Officials say people may still see smoke and flames, but that won't last too much longer. Drivers may notice more officers targeting speeders in or near school and construction zones. Colorado State Patrol is adding extra troopers and partnering with local agencies to do additional patrols. This is on top of its longest DUI crackdown, which runs until October 23rd. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com.
Mayfield for the corner. It's intercepted. Intended for Evans. Taken out of the air by Brandon Jones, and he reverses field direction. Look out. Inside the 10 and down at the 9.
6 feet and 310 pounds. Forget it.
McLaughlin dots the I behind Michael Burton. He takes the pitch towards the wide side of the field, and he's in trouble, but he got there. He got there inside the pylon with a beautiful deke.
That was a great run. And Bo Nix, no interceptions, ran for a touchdown while the Broncos sacked Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield 7 times on the way to a 26-7 victory. Jaleel McLaughlin also ran for a touchdown, and Cortland Sutton had 68 yards receiving on the road again this week at the Jets. See you with that big overtime victory over Baylor. CSU defeats UTEP. UNC falls on the road in Nacogdoches to Stephen F. Austin.
Hey, Blake,
Yes.
I was watching the CSU game. I had not seen those uniforms yet.
See, I'm not a big fan.
Oh, the blue and
You-
white
you
ones
love
with
that.
the Colorado flag.
Yeah,
It's a
not a big
state
fan.
across it.
No,
Dude, I
don't
like
it.
that night. I got on and ordered me one.
Did you? You
I
ordered
didn't-
yourself
So
one?
you don't like them?
Here's why I don't like
Yeah,
it.
tell
Okay.
me.
Oh, it gets really specific. But I mean, I get the the state theme, and the flag with the C and the blue and the yellow and the red, but it's inconsistent. The font doesn't have they have a bad trim on the outside on the front. I don't like the C on the Colorado flag anyway. It's too rounded. That's always been a pet peeve of mine. So it doesn't look good on the helmet, in my opinion. But, it's fun to emphasize state. They don't have a trim on the state, but they have it on the numbers. The trim is wrong. And I'm like, CSU, they go back to their orange and green for the historic, purposes of their orange and green uniforms from the past. That's great. But I mean, when you go to the red and blue one week and then you're back to green and gold, I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of
See,
all that.
I'm a soccer guy. I'm like, soccer teams have 3 uniforms. You have a
Yes.
home, away, and then you have a who knows what the hell. It's just go crazy. Your
Yeah,
third
is
alternate is a go crazy uniform, whatever you
Is
want to
it?
do. Oh yeah, no, doesn't matter. Colors don't matter, anything. My Newcastle team right now, their traditional colors are black and white. Our away uniform this year
Yeah.
is maroon and dark blue.
What?
Because soccer don't give a damn. And it's great.
They sure don't.
It is fantastic. It is wonderful. NFL
yuck.
needs to really lean into this because it gives so much creativity, and also it makes people buy uniforms a lot.
Yeah, that's what it's all
Yeah,
about. 'cause
just like our friend Jeff Hunt did. He saw
Jeff-
that
just
uniform.
like
Dude, I
Jeff
love
did.
that color.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
my
give
kids,
me one of them.
kids love it. Yeah, my kids love
All right,
it.
another
Not a big
question
fan.
for you.
Yeah.
On Saturday, part of the challenge was for the CU Buffs is that, well, the audience decided that the game was done before the refs decided that the game was done.
Yeah.
So when Travis Hunter makes the stop, everybody rushes out on the field. Well, they still have to review and make sure the ball didn't get across the plane there and become a touchdown. So have you ever in your college days ever ran onto the field following a game?
I never have.
No, but I was in one CU CSU game. I was right in the middle when CSU, it was crazy. CSU, I think, defeated CU at Mile High. and they brought out the spray and the whatever it was, mace, or whatever they sprayed.
Yeah,
Really? They mace the students?
Oh yeah, I mean it was nuts, man.
Yeah,
So
you're a
it
mile
was-
high. That's different. Yeah, yeah, that's a whole
Whoa.
different ball game.
Yeah, so the police are out there. This is probably 23 years ago, maybe
Yeah.
25 years ago, and it got ugly, man, between the both CU and CSU students, and it was out
So
of
it
control.
wasn't
They
rushing the
maced
field to
them. Yeah.
celebrate. It was rushing the field to brawl, huh?
Right.
In
Well,
part, yes.
kind of, yeah, for the most part. But they were celebrating. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they've learned a lot since then. I've been in numerous, a couple in Texas, right in the middle of them.
Did you ever get
Texas
intimidated?
games. No.
You
I
weren't. You
mean,
didn't fear for your safety or anything?
No,
Just
only
kids
when
having fun?
the goalposts come down.
Now, see, that's my experience because I was never part of the student crowd that rushed the field, but I worked security when the field was rushed at CU one time.
Oh man.
And
yeah.
the rule they have for when you're working security is don't stop the kids. There are too many of them. There's nothing you're gonna be able to do. If they're gonna rush the
Right.
field, let them rush the field.
Yeah.
Your next role, the thing you have to do is make sure if they tear down those goalposts, it doesn't fall on anybody. That's what they said
Yes.
you do. You
Yeah.
watch the goalposts and you split up and you get into two different groups and you go
How
either
do you
side.
tear them down? Do they just bend?
Yeah,
Well,
you
they
can-
make them
yeah.
different now. They used to literally tear them down. I mean,
Yeah, I used
get
to do-
enough weight on them and get
Yeah.
about 100 people on the crossbar, and then
And you're just
come
bending it,
down.
bending the middle forward. But now they're done
Yeah.
differently. But that was the issue, is because nobody who is on, the 30 or something is looking for something coming down from that, above, smacking
Absolutely.
there on the head. So that's
right.
what your role was. Your role was you got to
Mhm.
watch, and if those things start coming down, you start pushing people away and say, get away, get
Yeah.
away. That was it. They said, don't fight anybody, don't push anybody, don't stop it. No. You make sure that if those goalposts come down, nobody gets hit. That was your
Yeah.
role then. Yeah.
No doubt.
What-
I stay away from those.
Wasn't there one recently where the goalpost came down? They found it in a river.
Yeah,
the
they went and
next
threw it in
day?
the river. Yeah, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah. They went and they threw it
That's
in the
the
river.
tradition.
Yes.
That I mean, you'll see. You go to campuses across the country, and you'll see photos of student bodies carrying the student body, not student bodies,
Bodies,
but,
yeah.
but the student body carrying the goalposts, across campus or downtown or wherever their campus is located, or the bar or the
Yeah.
restaurant that they go to, and they, I've probably seen 30 or 40 photos like that in press boxes.
And then
Over
some
the years,
facilities manager gets a call Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Go out there and find it
Yeah,
somewhere.
right.
And you
Yeah,
have to
It's
replace
an
it.
Easter egg for
Yeah.
you.
Got to replace it,
Some-
and that's the problem. Yeah.
yeah, no kidding. They have to go put all
Yeah.
that stuff
And oddly, you
back.
can't get those on eBay. There's nothing. It's more difficult to get than that. And they're expensive, really
But-
expensive.
But they do make them a little safer though, for precautionary, where the crossbar meets the bend in the goalpost. So they kind of prepare for these situations.
Yes. Where-
So
Yeah, students drinking a lot, then go do dumb things. Yep, they've kind of figured
Right.
this out.
Exactly. All right. I love it. College football is back. It's awesome. I love hearing Jeff talk about it. 39 in Parker, 38 in Arvada, 42 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on this Monday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Fall is officially here, and some very pleasant early autumn weather will be found here in Denver and along the Front Range this week. Enjoy it. Head up to the high country. Check out those changing fall colors. Mostly sunny. 70s to low 80s today. Mid to upper 70s Tuesday. 70s and 80s Wednesday through Friday. Nights will be 40s and 50s. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So sometimes endorsements come out and you go, well, stop. Maybe I don't really want that endorsement. I don't need you to come out and support me. It would have been better if you just kind of kept quiet. That happened, I think it was at 16 or 20 when David Duke comes out and supports Donald Trump. And you're like, that doesn't help me. Doesn't help anything. Yeah. Kamala Harris got an endorsement over the weekend, and maybe it would have just been better if they never said anything at all. The IRS, the union that represents the IRS employees, which is the National Treasury Employees Union, has endorsed Kamala Harris for president of the United States. They write, they announced their decision after extensive research into the candidates' records regarding the federal workforce and consultation with NTEU members and chapters leaders across the country. When it comes to treating federal employees with respect, valuing their service, and investing in their work, Kamala Harris is the clear choice for the IRS agents. She shares our values, and our commitment, to making sure that the federal government works for all Americans. She's been a strong advocate for the issues that matter most to federal employees: fair pay, paid family leave, adequate agency funding, and staffing, and robust collective bargaining rights. You don't see her touting it.
No, and she won't. And it is, you're right, it is awkward. But it is a union endorsement, which does help. And that's why I feel it's because the Teamsters demurred is why you're getting these other unions coming out. And even, tons and tons of Teamsters have their local chapters have endorsed Kamala because, again, it's unions. And famously in the last 30 days, Trump applauded Elon Musk and how he treats unions, that he just goes in and fires them all, which is going to be interesting. So I'm just saying that when the Teamsters, if they do go on strike and Donald Trump's in the president's office, he's going to fire all of them and say, not a problem with that.
There's a shift happening.
There's an issue.
And so part of the shift, and we didn't cover this last week, we just ran out of time on this, but the Teamsters went out and polled their members. Yeah. And found that the leadership, and you and I talked about this, the leadership they're in the Democrat camp. The people on the ground, though, that work in the unions polled in favor of Donald Trump. That's part of the reason why there was the no endorsement, which hadn't happened since 96?
And I think it was 54% of the rank and file inside the Teamsters preferred Donald Trump. And again, that's fine. They can do that. Just don't complain when you get fired for going on strike. That's what you're asking for. So if that's what you want, if you want a guy that doesn't support all the things that the union has come to represent and gained you in your life, fine, go right ahead. You can vote for that. But when and if you go on strike, don't complain you don't get support from the Donald Trump Oval Office. Don't complain that Donald Trump advocates for your employer to blanket fire all of you. And if a lot of you do lose your jobs, don't complain about it because that's what he wants to do. You can support whoever you want, but understand what you're supporting. A guy who doesn't think you should have the union protections that you want. That's fine. Go right ahead.
It seems like it's interesting. So there's a lot of complicated factors here. One, let's talk about how Republicans in 2 election cycles have gone from Mitt Romney being the head of the ticket, which there's no union in the world that liked where that guy was, right? Bain Capital, and he was so far removed from the union guys. To a personality shift at the top of the ticket to where union members, at least with the Teamsters, in a majority, not a big one, but a majority, support Donald Trump. And I think it comes in part to his personality. So Kamala Harris goes to the picket lines, stood out there. Donald Trump's never going to stand up at the picket lines.
No, never
but
will. They
identify more with him than they do with somebody that's willing to stand at the picket lines with them. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It is strange to see people in these large of numbers vote against their self-interest. Because
I don't know if they are.
Oh, yeah, they are.
I don't know if they are. I think you're only looking at it in one particular angle. Going, okay, they're not going to walk at the picket lines. He may philosophically side more with the business leadership and business ownership. But when it comes to the actual, direction of the pocketbook economy, I'm not talking the stock market and all that stuff, but inflationary issues, interest rates, the challenge it is to own a home, illegal immigration, all those things that a blue collar worker cares about, they're going more with Donald Trump. So I'm not sure it's totally not in their self-interest.
The idea being, though, the average worker makes more than the average, the other person that's not part of a union. So if they would like to have less wages, if they would like to have less job protections, if they would like to have less constraints on their employment possibilities inside the job, yeah, go right ahead. That's fine. If they want to take away their union rights, go right ahead. Yes. If the Teamsters want to non-unionize large shops, go right ahead. I mean, remember that during the last big strike, when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris went out there with everybody else, Donald Trump held a rally at a non-union shop. Again, the Teamsters are free to go and support whoever they want, but don't be surprised when you lose your union protections. That's fine. It's go right ahead. Any one of them is free to leave their union job and go work for any other manufacturer, choose a non-union shop any day of the week. And if that's what the majority of the Teamsters union wants, if they want to dissolve, go right ahead. You are free to. Just don't complain if a Donald Trump White House doesn't support your right to organize and strike. That's it. Just be well aware of what you want to do. As long as you agree with that, that's fine. Go right ahead. Vote against your self-interest all that you want.
So that's where you and I think, disagree on this. I think they are voting in their best self-interest. I think they see a better future with Donald Trump than they do with Kamala Harris, and that's why they identify better with him. But give us a call. I'd like to hear from you. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Some good text messages coming in here. With the IRS endorsement, the complete dark side is endorsing Harris. That's from Iggy. Jay from Louisville. Jeff, have you ever met an IRS agent? They only go after people who do shady things in business and literally flee the country and abandon their families. I know because I once dated an agent. They do good. I think they target more kind of middle-class people. They try to go after the rich, but the rich are the ones ability to have the ability to hire accountants and attorneys and fight this stuff. So I think, and I've seen studies, that a majority of the IRS are going after middle-class folks. I don't know. Is it so good that Kamala Harris got that endorsement from the IRS? I'd love to hear from you. Look, if you are a homeowner who is considering selling your home, let Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team use their database of over 13,700 ready buyers to get your home sold for top dollar. Many real estate agents make promises, but very few have the proof to back it up. The Empower Home team has review after review from families they have served that back up what they say. They net their sellers 6.1% more money on average, getting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. No matter who wins the election, no matter what kind of market we're in, the Empower Home team brings the experience and track record to help you navigate your home sale and get you top dollar. If your home doesn't sell, Gay Ribble will buy it, and that's her guarantee to you. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams today. Call 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll get you your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Weil in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
Officials in Oklahoma have just announced that they've removed more than 453,000 ineligible names from the voter rolls, including more than 97,000 dead people and almost 15,000 duplicate registrations that somehow made it into the system. In addition, 195,000 voters were removed whose address couldn't be verified, and another 144,000 who moved out of the state. Officials say they purge their voter rolls every month.
We do have to cross several points when we're trying to make that match. We have to make sure that the names match significantly, that the date of birth matches. If we do have any type of other identifying information, we do have to make sure that we can make a positive match.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson talking the funding bill and election integrity on Saturday's edition of This Week on the Hill, saying they are going back to the drawing board to make sure that the government gets funded and our elections are secure.
We tried to get it over the line and we fell a little bit short. So having fallen short of the goal line on that is very disappointing, but we go back to the playbook to draw up the next play. We'll be working on it throughout the remainder of the weekend, and we'll have something on the floor next week to make sure that we get the job done.
The day after Speaker Johnson's appearance on This Week on the Hill, a funding agreement was reached that will fund the government through December 20th. The bill includes $231 million for the U.S. Secret Service.
In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
What if this sound actually made you smile, giving you a chance to win gas and groceries for a year? It's the $13,000 gas and grocery giveaway. The grand prize winner gets $10,000 in gas and grocery gift cards. 2 first prize winners get $1,000 in gift cards. And 2 second prize winners get $500 in gift cards.
Presented by Branch Planning. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. The $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway. Enter today at 710knus.com.
What if this...
Billy, we kicked over the hornet's nest this morning.
Yes, we did.
On a Monday. 8913 texting. I'm an accountant. The IRS only does good? Question mark. What world do you live on? They use their position to threaten people every day. And then Jay from Louisville. Even if they go after the middle class more, I'd like to see some data supporting that claim. Something Jeff always omits. Where else do you want the federal government to raise money? If tax cuts and little tax enforcement, what's the plan? So, Jay, during the break, I went and took a look. This was an article from Yahoo Finance in April of this year. Middle-class earners are the most targeted group for IRS audits. If you thought President Joe Biden's mandate that the Internal Revenue Service audit more ultra-wealthy and fewer middle-class filers is in full swing, guess again. In fact, 63% of new audits as of summer 2023 targeted taxpayers with income of less than $200,000, according to the figures compiled by the Wall Street Journal's editorial board, which then dubbed the $200,000 man the IRS's most wanted.
Yeah, and because they don't have the ability to go after the people that make lots of money. Because
the fight's way bigger.
Yeah, the fight's way bigger. It takes more time, takes more effort, and it is so much easier to get the low-hanging fruit. For someone that is in the middle class realm in our country, it is really easy for the IRS to come at you and you don't have the means to fight back. If they go after the multimillionaire or billionaire, they have much more means. The fight is much longer and it takes more effort and more time and more energy. And so the IRS is looking at return on investment. It is easier right now for them to go after the middle class, which is oddly part of the argument for more agents. Because you have more agents, you can do more work, you can audit more people, and that would be the people on the higher end. Because if you can do the work to get the higher end fish, what you can get back is phenomenally larger than what you would do on the small end. But it takes, again, time, effort, and money. And right now, the IRS doesn't have that. So they take the low-hanging fruit, which is, Jeff, myself, and our listeners. That's why you're going to get audited. Yeah.
But they do have a favorite candidate out there, the IRS union, over the weekend, saying Kamala Harris is our gal. And I bet the Harris campaign, I could just see the staffer
I'm sure
watching that come across their desk and go, well,
yeah, this is not one they're not going to retweet this one. This one doesn't help. This one doesn't help.
We're not going to put a press release out on this one. We'll just let it go.
No.
So.
Yeah. But if you think that the multimillionaires and multi-billionaires should be able to use the tax loopholes and their legal representation to pay as little tax as possible and then have the IRS go after us, okay, then you can make that choice and say the union is wrong on this one. That's fine.
Flat tax, baby. That's what.
That won't work at all, but that's okay.
Flat tax. We'll get into that at another time. Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about Balance Well Space?
Yeah, I've been working with this amazing new team of doctors, Balance Well Space. The difference is integrative medicine. What does that mean? It means you got a whole bunch of different treatments that are available for you under one roof. I'm talking about going and seeing Balance Well Space at their new offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2. And they do chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more, including some amazing cutting-edge, non-invasive treatments that seem like they come more out of Star Trek or Star Wars. And the cool part is, it's all in one office. You contact the team at Balance Well Space. You sit down with Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, the team, and they ask you what hurts. You talk to them about the things that you're not doing in your life and where it hurts and how long it's been doing that. They then poke, prob, they take the pictures, and they put together a custom pain plan that is targeted on you. Not just making you feel better, but getting you to do the things you're not doing right now that you want to. That's important. This isn't just about making the pain go away. This is about getting you living the life that you want to live. But you can't do this until you talk to them at Balance Well Space. After they do the custom pain treatment plan, they go to work. And in that one office visit, you can get all the care you need, a little bit of chiropractic care, maybe some neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation. They'll help you with the regenerative care, wave therapy. The wave therapy has been helping me destroy built up scar tissue that's in my broken right shoulder. Right now, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I am regenerating the lower discs in my back along with the meniscus in my left knee, thanks to some stem cells they shot into me. And I'm going back in a couple of days and going to get another round of them. The change is is remarkable. I'm doing things I never thought were possible. I am moving around as if I am 10 to 15 years younger, and that is ridiculous. My left knee that used to be my wonky knee is now my strong knee. That's the knee that I am trusting. Used to have a pain in my right hip because of what was going on in my lower back. That's gone as well. I'm slowly seeing all of the pain I was living in my through in my life disappear. It's all slowly being peeled back because of the amazing work at Balance Wellspace. I want them to be able to make this change in your life as well, but they can't unless you talk to them. Brand new offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2, plenty of parking. Contact them at Balance Wellspace. BalanceWellspace.com, BalanceWellspace.com. Go in, see them for a custom pain treatment plan, and then let them make a difference in your life. I want you to experience the difference that they are making in my life. But you can't do that until you talk to them. BalanceWellspace.com, BalanceWellspace.com, and tell them you heard about them here on Jeff and Bill.
Great to hear you're getting that care, Billy. When we come back, you choose the news. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, it's Monday morning. We need to lift your spirits a little bit with Billy's You Choose the News.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we get to make questionable decisions. It is something we call You Choose the News, everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. I spent mere moments this morning scouring the interwebs to find these stories I have in my hand and gave them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because nobody in charge is awake at this hour. And this is basically what happens when we are left unsupervised. So it is a secret. Shh, do not tell anybody. We have some very important people in the city this week. They can't find out about this, okay? So we're kind of trusty on this one already. Okay, Jeff Hunt, Blake Olson. Here are our choices this morning, gentlemen. Headline number 1, all part of the job. Headline number 2, discounted apology. Headline number 3, don't be a fool, no siree. And headline number 4, there's an app for that. Mr. Hunt.
It's all part of the job, baby.
It is all part of the job. Here we are traveling to lovely old England and specifically meeting their Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. He says that it is really just all part of the job. What? Him having to go to football matches and having to go get tickets to concerts like Coldplay. He got
I'm a man of the people.
He got gifted $4,000 hospitality tickets to go see Taylor Swift. He got more than $700 worth of concert tickets to go see Coldplay. He got hundreds of dollars to go see professional sporting matches. In fact, so far, Keir Starmer has accepted almost 40 sets of free tickets. But his office says, ha ha ha, Porus, shut up. He goes, that's all part of the job. And he says, yes, it's not a perk of the job. It's part of the job. The prime minister has to accept free tickets. But why would the prime minister, a wealthy individual and the man running the government, actually have to pay for them? That would be silly. We can't have the guy in charge who has more money than most of you pay for the stuff that he gets to go to. They have to be gifts. It's part of the job, people. Shut up, you pores. I may have added the last part, but that's basically what the office said. The office defended it, saying, no, it's part of the job that he has to go to the free stuff that people give him to. I want that job. I'm just saying.
The elites.
Yes.
They live a different life.
And I love that. I love the filter is, no, I shouldn't pay for it. I should be gifted this because of my job. You should shower me with freebies because I am in charge. Yeah. Tell me that guy doesn't want to be king. All righty. Okay. Blake Olson in the newsroom. Discounted apology. Don't be a fool. No siree. Or there's an app for that.
Let's go with there's an app for that.
There is an app for that. Microsoft has announced recently, get ready, you have another app that is going to control all other apps. Yes, one app to rule them all. They've announced they are dropping a brand new Windows app to control your Windows apps. Yes, it's an app to control the apps.
A meeting for a meeting.
Yes, this is stupid. Well, what they're doing is they're replacing the Microsoft Remote Desktop app and calling it the Windows app and making it control the other apps. So now you need to download an app to control your other apps. And then, they're just going to get an app to control the app that's controlling the apps.
It's like when we create an oversight committee.
Exactly.
That provides oversight. And then who provides oversight to the oversight committee?
The oversight committee. Yes, that's exactly it. And this is the reason why we can't have nice things. I still love the idea that we're just going to create an app to control the apps. Can I just use the app to do it?
To rule them all.
Exactly.
They get paid for this.
I know. People are getting paid for the stupidity. Oh, man. Oddly enough, we get paid for this stupidity as well. So we should keep our mouth quiet. All righty, Jeff Hunt, your final choice this morning. Discounted apology or don't be a fool, no siree.
Don't be a fool.
Yes, don't be a fool, no siree. Here's how you live to 103. Those Disney fans may recognize that quote from Jiminy Cricket. And there's a brand new way to get a better night's sleep. Strengthen your hair, have better looking skin, and improve your performance in the bedroom. And, well, you're going to have to catch it because it's probably lurking in your own backyard. What could it possibly be? Grasshoppers. A new study from the science hippies shows that grasshoppers are a great natural way to have you get better sleep, strengthen your hair and skin, and also improve your libido. They studied a group of rats. Some were given crushed grasshoppers, some crushed fish, some crushed protein. The rats that ate the crushed grasshoppers, more love making, more sleep,
will use
and
any
better
excuse
hair
to get you to eat bugs.
I know.
It's so
It is
weird.
crazy.
All
I know.
right, my ballot guide's coming up. You got 14 questions on your ballot. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High Saturday on this Monday, September 23rd. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. We are Denver's talk leader. All those other stations out there, they're going to give you a monologue. We want you to be a part of the conversation, probably no more than in this next segment. I have sat down and through deep analysis and stargazing have come up with my opinions on the 14 different ballot initiatives that you will face on your statewide ballot. Now, that doesn't include your city ballot and your county ballot and all that other stuff. But on the statewide ballot, I've got the answers to lead Colorado into prosperity forevermore. Now, some of these are just crazy lib things that don't need to pass. So we'll get into that in just a second. Grab your coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 42 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 81 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, the annual United Nations General Assembly in New York, is underway. President Biden will address the General Assembly on Tuesday. Vice President Harris will meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky and other world leaders and dictators, but is not scheduled to attend the UN gathering of leftists, Marxists, and communists.
I used to work at the United Nations, actually.
You did?
I did. I represented persecuted Christians. Let me tell you what the United Nations is one of the most disgusting organizations in the world.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you have major countries that make up the Security Council, China, Russia, United States, all that stuff. But when it comes to a lot of these floor votes, it's one country, one vote. Okay. There's a majority of Muslim countries in this world. Yep. If you just pull them all together, they make up the biggest number. So they get to just control the floor. And what it is, I'm not kidding you, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day, especially in Geneva, the UN Human Rights Council, okay? It is an 8-hour anti-Semitic screed day after day after day. I would sit there and watch North Korea get up with Iran and just rail against Israel. God. You're sitting there going, what the hell are we spending the money on here?
Right. Waste.
We're just sitting here. We're going to spend. And guess what we're going to do tomorrow? Yes. We're going to give another speech about how much we hate Israel. It is amazing. Worthless. Yep. I think it was John Bolton one time who said you could carve off 8 floors at the United Nations building and still it wouldn't do anything different than what it's doing now. It's just a massive waste of money and time.
It is. They've got to get rid of this. It's stupid. And it's dangerous too.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And the perception is, the United Nations.
Such important work.
It goes back to the, people around the world, they're just laughing at us. They think, they're communists laughing at us.
They're laughing that and we're the ones who put the most money into it. They're laughing because the United States puts the most money into the United Nations, and it sits around and spends 8 hours a day on these anti-Semitic screeds.
So how can we abolish all this? How would that
elect
work?
Donald Trump, man?
I mean, he could do it, right?
That's the type of mindset you need to have. The Elon Musk, Donald Trump, that coalition that's being built is so appealing because all you're going to get with Kamala Harris back in is this global one world, spend all the money, pour all the money in the United States. If the UN just had more money, then there'd be more world peace. Baloney. It's full of hateful people. Particularly
Sexist.
Particularly at Israel, and we pay for it, and it's just frustrating.
No doubt. Sexist, bigots, racist, everything. Anti-Semites, as you said. Former President Trump says he will attend the Alabama-Georgia game this Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Trump's Secret Service team will be on high alert after 2 failed assassination attempts in the recent months. Fans are encouraged to arrive at Bryant-Denny Stadium. That's Keith Jackson. That's my attempt. Extra early this Saturday for the highly anticipated SEC game. Prosecutors are expected to argue the man accused of wanting to shoot former President Trump would be held in custody while awaiting trial. Ryan Wesley Routh is expected in court today for a detention hearing. The 58-year-old man is facing multiple charges, including possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Who is he working with? That's what I want to know. Jurors are deciding if the man on trial was sane or insane when he gunned down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder 3 years ago. They began deliberations Friday after closing arguments. Prosecutors claim Ahmad Alissa planned the massacre, while the defense maintains he suffers from mental illness and didn't know right from wrong. Over the weekend, even mainstream media admitting some issues with the Harris campaign. Rick Klein.
30-plus point advantage for Joe Biden in the exit polls among Latino voters from 4 years ago. Hillary Clinton won Latino voters by 40 points. And of course, she still lost the presidency. So there's some real ground to make up across demographics, but particularly with Latino voters. Kamala Harris has some issues that she's got to attend to.
Now, Jeff talked about the IRS union endorsing Kamala Khan. And this dude took the words out of my mouth.
Well, guys, I was going to vote for Trump, and then I saw that the IRS union endorsed Kamala. That really pushed me over the edge, and now I think I'm going to side with the people that robbed me blind and vote for Kamala. These idiots. Why did they even post this? They should have thrown this so far under the rug. Yeah, vote for the people that the tax collectors are voting for, bro. No thanks.
That is brilliant.
Isn't that great, man? I mean, since Farley isn't alive, I got to find out this guy's name. But he's taking his place. Oh, my God.
He's exactly right.
Yes,
who sat there and went, well, that'll do it for me?
Well, right.
And did any of the other IRS agents need to hear from the union to go, oh, that's who I'm going to vote for?
Exactly. Oh, my goodness. The Trump campaign with a great ad out reminding voters that Kamala Khan wants to use taxpayer money. Hey, here's a good idea to pay for prisoners' sex changes or transitions or whatever you want to call it. So we've talked about this numerous times in the past month. Here's a portion of that ad.
And illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
That is a great line. She is for they, them. Amen. And he is for you. Crews now have 90% of the Pearl fire contained, and all evacuations in Larimer County were lifted on Sunday. It sparked on a private property near Red Feather Lakes and quickly spread to Roosevelt National Forest, triggering a disaster emergency. Officials say people may still see smoke and flames, but that won't last too much longer. All right, the Broncos, they win at 26-7 on Sunday. Man, look great. And Bo Nix.
It's goal to go, so they got to get it in there somehow. Aiden Alton lost the ball, and it's picked up by Brandon Jones. And Evans is going to catch him
He didn't lose the ball. He got hit hard. The Broncos defense did a great job. They looked really good on Sunday. They also sacked quarterback Baker Mayfield 7 times. Once again, 26-7 victory. CU with that dramatic victory over the weekend, and CSU beats UTEP, trying to get back on track. The Broncos, by the way, on the road this week at the Jets. 39 in Highlands Ranch, 41 in Aurora, 42 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on this Monday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Fall is officially here, and some very pleasant early autumn weather will be found here in Denver and along the Front Range this week. Enjoy it. Head up to the high country. Check out those changing fall colors. Mostly sunny. 70s to low 80s today, mid to upper 70s Tuesday, 70s and 80s Wednesday through Friday. Nights will be 40s and 50s. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right. We are just a few weeks away from that ballot showing up in your mailbox. Pulling it out and sending it in. You're going to mail it in early, which makes all the lives of the campaigns easier than having to send you ads. Please vote, turn in your ballot. If you're going to vote day of, well, do that in person. Want to help you think through the 14 statewide ballot questions you are going to face. Okay, so you're going to face questions from your city, your county. You're going to have the candidates. And I didn't put together a guide on the candidates because, well, I'm a Republican. I'm a rock rib Republican. That's where I'm going. Billy is an independent. He may bounce back and forth.
I'm all over the place.
Is that what your ballot is? Is it just kind of all over? You're just
all the time. Yeah, all the time. I am chaos. Yeah, I'll go one way, and there may be someone that I would support in one election, and then the following election I will not support.
They're gone.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah.
So I did this for the Centennial Institute for many years, and want to continue that to put out some guidance from my perspective. This isn't the perspective of my employer. I'm not affiliated or paid by any of these campaigns. My wife does sit on the board of Pro-Life Colorado, but I wanted to put this together from my perspective to help you on these ballot initiatives. You're welcome to disagree. Give me a call, 303-696-1971.
And these are not,
or text us on.
Yeah, and these are not my opinions. These are Jeff put this together, etc. Because no one would pay me for it. So I sent out lots of emails. There were text messages. There were Twitters, and no one was willing to pay me to endorse them. So I was like, fine.
No payments on my side either.
But I will just withhold all of my support.
All right.
So I don't think it's working, but that's my plan.
Let's start with Amendment 79. This will create a right to abortion in the state constitution and repeal constitutional provisions banning the use of public funds for abortion. This is one that I think absolutely has to fail. It has to get to 55% in order to succeed. I'm opposed to it. And even if you're pro-choice, you should be opposed to Amendment 79, because do you believe that taxpayers should be paying for other people's abortions? Is that right in the state of Colorado, that we're going to take folks' tax dollars, money that belongs to them, we're going to put it into funds that would fund people's abortions? This is where I think Coloradans could break on this, because while we're socially libertarian, right? We're a very socially libertarian state. You want a doctor-assisted suicide? We got it. You want pot? We got it. You want to have abortion at any point, anytime, for whatever reason? Colorado's already got it. But do we want to make other people pay for it? That's where I think Coloradans could have a hiccup on this. Secondly, it would prevent any future bans that Colorado may want to implement. We may go, okay, late-term abortion, We're not comfortable with that. If the baby can live outside the womb, or even, abortion bans at 38, 39 weeks, like a week, 10 days before it's going to be born, killing the baby, you wouldn't be able to put those types of restrictions into law if this passes. And then third, it likely repeals the parental notification requirements for abortions getting minors, or minors getting abortions. Abortions getting minors. Minors getting abortions. So in light of all that, even if you're pro-choice, even if you're independent or moderate on the abortion issue, you can go, Colorado already has totally unrestricted abortions. Constitutionalizing it with the power that Amendment 79 has really takes away common sense restrictions you may want to put on it. So Amendment 79. Any comment on that, Bill?
Yeah,
we can move on to 80.
I am mostly, I really dislike planting things into our Constitution because it makes it more difficult to change them later. I figure it's a good idea. It should be done legislatively, because then as things change, we can go back and it allows course correction. And so I naturally push back against any and all state constitutional amendments. I just dislike them pro forma. This one worries me because of the taxpayer funding. I'm curious about removing parental notification, how they would get around that, because it would be a medical procedure on a minor. So I'm curious about how that would work, as to whether or not, but of course it would be adjudicated, and there will be a lot of lawyers who will be getting lots and lots of money based on that. So it'll be a lawyer jobs program for that one.
Yep.
The other one, and again, because, preventing future restrictions in case you want to change something later on, that's why I dislike it. It's the taxpayer funding, and I dislike the idea of constitutional amendment. But this, for me, is going to come down based on who I think is going to win if I had to handicap it, messaging. Because the messaging on the pro side is going to be they're going to try for a national abortion ban. That's what they want. That's what the pro-life side wants. And this is the only way to prevent that from happening, is what the argument's going to be. And can the people that oppose it be able to thread the needle well enough to say it shouldn't be an amendment and we don't need taxpayer funding abortions? I think that is the strongest argument on that one. But can they make it stick? It is so much easier to message they're going to take away your right to abortion than message they're going to put taxpayer funding behind abortions.
Yep.
It's so much easier to do the previous
and
one rather than the latter.
They got way more money. I will tell you this with certainty, because you don't get more into the pro-life movement than our family does. My wife does this for a living. The pro-choice side cares a lot more about abortion than the pro-life side cares about life.
Yes, I would agree.
They put the amount of money they put in, the passion behind it, all that stuff. This is going to be 100-1 on the spending side.
Yeah, it will be. And part of the problem that we're going to have is going to be, just the Dobbs decision in Roe versus Wade, because there is going to be there are going to be individuals out there that are going to vote on this that have already made up their mind based on their opinions of Roe versus Wade and Dobbs. And what I mean by that is someone that believes they should have the ability to choose, and they thought that Roe versus Wade is right, is much more likely to vote for this constitutional amendment, regardless of the taxpayer funding, even if they disagree with the taxpayer funding. And that is going to be a mental hurdle that the supporters of this, or the opponents of this, are going to have to go after. They're going to have to get over the top of that. And that is going to be difficult to do, because you're going to have to persuade that person that may already have one foot in the camp of the amendment that maybe the funding is not what you want. And again, that's a lower level conversation rather than the very easy, we're going to codify abortion into the Constitution so they can never take it away from you. That is a really easy, digestible message. So this one's going to be very, very hard for the opponents, but I'm probably going to end up voting against it. But we'll see what happens.
If you want my ballot guide, go to jeffhunt.com. It's there at the very top along the menu there. You'll see ballot guide, or you can go to x.com/jeffhunt. I'll have it there. Billy, an amendment to the Constitution I would support.
Yes.
And this one was interesting over the weekend.
Yeah.
Amendment 80, provide a constitutional right to school choice, including neighborhood schools, charter schools, private schools, homeschools, open enrollment options, and future innovations in education. I am a total supporter of this.
Yeah, the problem for me is that I need to be convinced that we already don't have this.
This
That's
would be the one.
to...
So part of the proponents are going, yes, we have school choice in Colorado.
Yep.
We do. In fact, Colorado was one of the earlier ones to do this,
which
is why we're actually doing better in our education than some other places. But there are those that don't really like it anymore. This school choice used to be a really bipartisan issue. I know this because I was the coalitions manager for the Colorado Coalition of Cyber School Families. So all the families that wanted to choose online charter schools for their kids. Maybe their kids don't do well in public brick and mortar schools. Maybe their kids are athletes and travel a lot and they want to do online charter schools, stuff like that. I represented them for a number of years, and it was a bipartisan thing. I handed John Hickenlooper a little Golden Apple Award for being school choice proponent as the governor. But what you're seeing is particularly the Democrats going, we don't like the school choice thing anymore, and moving away from it. So the proponents are going, we need to solidify it in the Constitution.
Yeah. And again, I push back on putting it inside the Constitution. I think that if the temperature inside the electorate changes, the electorate needs to be given the ability to change that. And so my idea is if school choice it works so well, then you make the case for it. We don't codify it inside of the Constitution. That's for me. That is just, I really have this issue about the fact that we're going to throw things into the Constitution because we're afraid people are going to come back and change them later.
And that's a fair critique, because our Constitution in Colorado
is ridiculous.
Is way longer than the one we have for the federal government.
And the other part for me that I worry about with this one is the inclusion of the statement about private schools. That worries me, because if it is codified that school choice inside our Constitution means private schools, does that also then mean funding? And you can't deny them funding. So just like we talk about in the abortion side of it, that opens up taxpayer funding for abortions. For me, this opens up, in my mind, the possibility. I'm not saying it does for sure, because I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one on the radio, but it opens up my mind for the possibility of taxpayer funding of private schools. And that's something I disagree with, even though the fact that I'm a product of private school.
And I'm a voucher guy. So for me, that's the direction we got to go. So I want this constitutionalized. I think that's where you get the school choice that's going to be necessary for this country to succeed. And I'm also the guy that's saying we need to buy a big billboard and put it on I-25 that says, for the love of God, get your kids out of government-run schools. So you can tell, where I stand on this. Give them all the choice and give them the money to choose. All right. Amendment G expands the property tax exemption for veterans.
Wait, I got a question here.
Yes.
And maybe you can talk about it for the listeners. That I think I know why, but I'm not 110% sure. Why some of these are numbered and some of the amendments are lettered. The reason behind that is, I believe it's because the numbers are initiatives from the peoples, and the letters are people that come from the legislature. I believe.
I think that's correct.
I think that's it. But people, again, our listeners are smarter than me. So please, if you know the difference, text us. We'll know.
The next three are actually coming from the state legislature.
I think that's the reason. So on the ballot. So if you're looking at it, you kind of know how things came at you. But of course, they don't put that on the ballot and tell us, because that would be too much. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I digress. Go ahead.
Amendment G expands the property tax exemption for veterans with a disability to veterans with individual unemployment status. So the way it currently works in Colorado is if you're a veteran with severe disabilities, you get a property tax exemption. What they want to do is add a property tax exemption, that category, to unemployed vets. And to me, this is like, anytime we're not paying the government more money, I'm happy.
Yeah, this is one that I'm of two minds on it. There's part of me that I like the idea, but the idea of they get a tax break just because they're unemployed is harder for me to get my mind around, because it's the idea of just being unemployed. But I understand what the veterans are going through, and what I believe is that whatever the reason that unemployed vet is going through those problems, they're not employed at this time, I can't imagine that taxing them more is going to help. So if we are going to lower their tax burden for a wide variety of reasons, if that helps them get to a better place in their life and helps them become employed, or at least just saves their home so they don't become a homeless veteran. So they don't, if this is part of what keeps them in their home and keeps them part of our society because they have done something that I never could. They raised their hand and they gave their mind, body, and soul to our country. I'm not built that way. So if that's what they did, and then what we're going to do is give them a break on the property tax because they're unemployed at the time, okay, I can get on board.
How
I
about
can get
this?
on board with that.
How about if you serve our country in any capacity, you never pay property tax again?
Ooh, that's super attractive.
I love that idea.
That's really attractive. What I would do, though, is I would also means test it. I would have, once you get to a certain income level, that then goes away. So I think it would be wonderful.
You become a trillionaire.
Yeah, for whatever reason. Yeah, exactly. If you do that, then there's no reason to have those people not pay property tax. But if you're on the lower end, I really like that idea, my friend.
But what is the benefit then if you're going to have people serving in the military that are trillionaires? Which, now you get the military benefits from having
not
some
so
of those
certain about that. I'm not so certain that if you're a trillionaire, lining up in a uniform and doing what other people tell you is going to go over real well. I just don't think that's going to be the one. I can't imagine Elon going, "Sir, yes, sir, I will happily clean the latrine." I can't imagine that's ever going to come out of his mouth. I'm just saying.
All right. We are through 3 of the 14. We'll continue with this. I want to tell you first, though, about my friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I think of the world of Dan Caplis. I've known him for well over a decade, knew him back when I got back to Colorado, started working in politics. This guy is the real deal. This matters because who you hire to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. If you hire one of those guys you flip through the phone book or you saw his picture go by on a bus, you're not necessarily getting somebody that shares your values. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But more than that, he's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. And you're probably going, this guy's just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Not true. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call. Even if you're not in a car accident right now, put this phone number in your phone so the second something happens to you, you can get a hold of Dan Caplis Law. 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll continue with our review of the 14 statewide ballot initiative questions you're facing this November. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Weil in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
Former NFL kicker and current TV analyst Jay Feely has announced that he is endorsing Donald Trump for president based on every objective measure. Feely making the statements in an interview on the podcast Outkick, saying winning back the battleground state of Arizona is simple. People just have to look at Donald Trump objectively, look at his time in office before COVID, and compare it to the Biden-Harris administration. He added that the economy, safety, homes, the border, and everything else was better under Trump, but in order for the former president to win Arizona, there has to be a large Republican turnout. There's over 200,000 registered Republicans in Arizona, he said, that didn't vote in the last presidential election. If half of those people vote, Trump wins. The mother of a Georgia teenager who's being charged with killing 4 people at his high school has been indicted. Marcy Gray, the mother of suspected Appalachia shooter Colt Gray, is being charged for allegedly tying her mother to a chair and leaving her there for almost 24 hours. The charges include exploitation and intimidation of a disabled adult or elderly person, false imprisonment, criminal damage to property in the second degree, and theft. If convicted, she faces up to 20 years in prison. Her 14-year-old son, Colt Gray, is facing 4 murder charges for walking into his Georgia high school and opening fire. His father, Colin, is being charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and child cruelty.
In Dallas, Christina Weil, Salem News Channel.
What if this sound actually made you smile, giving you a chance to win gas and groceries for a year? It's the $13,000 gas and grocery giveaway. The grand prize winner gets $10,000 in gas and grocery gift cards. 2 first prize winners get $1,000 in gift cards. And 2 second prize winners get $500 in gift cards.
Presented by Branch Planning. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. The $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway. Enter today at 710knus.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, helping you think through these ballot initiatives you got to face this November. 14 of them are statewide. If you go to my website, jeffhunt.com, you can, at the very top, you'll see ballot guide. You can get my thinking on this, and I'm open to critique, most importantly, debate. And over the weekend, a lot of debate over Amendment 80, and I said, you got to come on the show, and let's discuss this so that people are informed. I would love you to call in 303-696-1971 or text the show, 819-5115. That's the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Amendment H creates an independent judicial discipline adjudicative board and creates rules for the judicial discipline process. This is one I hesitated on originally because I was like, we creating overseers to see the overseers, that type of thing. And then I read the Gazette editorial on it. The Gazette exposed a lot of corruption happening in our court systems, even at the highest level.
Yeah.
And so this is embraced by the Gazette in part because of their investigative reporting that just says these judges don't have enough oversight and transparency, and we got to jump into that. So I'm a supporter of Amendment H. Amendment I, remove the right to bail.
Talk about H.
Do you want to talk about H?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, sorry.
Be quiet. I'm hurt. I'm sad now. No, I'm kidding.
What are your feelings on H there, Billy Boy?
Yeah. Dave Magoya did some great work on Amendment H and some of the judicial oversight and the discipline, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Basically, you have people that are involved in the court system feeling that because they are in charge of the court system, that rules and regulations do not apply to them, that they do not have to have open records, that they do not have to be held accountable by average people, and God forbid, by reporters, never the reporters. And what Dave Magoya did was classic journalism, continuing to ask the question and pulling back the curtain and looking at how members in the highest branches of our judiciary felt that it's okay because we're doing it. As long as we're doing it, it's okay.
Yeah.
Nobody else would be allowed to. So this one, you absolutely should support this one, because otherwise you're going to get people that are in a lot of black robes choosing that because we wear this black robe, it means the rules don't apply to us. We get to enforce them, but we don't get to follow them. So yeah, this changes that. Yeah, this is an important one for me.
Great. Well, I'm glad you spoke up on that. Thanks. I was thinking it wasn't that big of a deal.
This is a big deal for me.
That one's a big one for you.
This is a really big deal for me, because this is a huge example of those that are in positions of power, that are in positions that can change our lives on a day-to-day basis, having the feeling that they don't need to follow the rules the rest of us are following. And what really, really annoys me is these are people that are tasked with enforcing the rules, saying we're not going to follow rules. That's crap. So yeah,
I could see how that could really get you.
Oh, it gets you so mad. It gets me so mad.
Amendment I, remove the right to bail in cases of first-degree murder when the proof is evident or the presumption is great. So what happened when the Democrats got rid of the death penalty? The law in Colorado says you can only remove bail for capital offenses.
Yeah.
And so we're now stuck with some guy like the King Super Shooter going in and shooting up a grocery store or a school or something like that. And yeah, they may go, it's $10 million of bail, but they're still being offered bail. This one, but this where I hesitated, I wanted to make sure that this did maintain constitutional due process protections. Because that's where I get a little nervous, where I'm like, oh, you got a speeding ticket, but because I'm opposed to you in a political sense or whatever, we're now going to take away your bail. This one, I think, has the right type of protections, so I'm supportive of it.
Yeah, I am too. I think that when you are in first-degree murder charges, I'm worried about, proof evident, presumption great. I understand that part of it, but I don't think that if you are under that suspicion and they are able to charge you, that you need to be wandering around all the time. There are certain times and certain crimes in which I don't believe that you need to still have basic interactions with the general public. And that would be one of them. Here. Yes, that would be one of them. And I understand that there are going to be people out there that are going to be found not guilty or innocent of the charges, and they're going to have to spend extra time inside jail because of that. Is that fair? No, not at all. Am I okay with that? Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yes, I am. I'm sorry. I'm going to defer on the idea that the risk is greater than the issue of letting someone out there that is innocent, eventually found innocent. I'm okay with it not being fair in this case, and I acknowledge that, and that's just fine. Yeah.
The next one, Bill, I'm guessing we're going to revert back to debates that took place in 2008 and 9.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This will be fun.
Amendment J, remove the provision of the state constitution that says only a union of one man and one woman shall be valid or recognized as a marriage in this state. And because I'm old school, and believe that there's a role for the state to define marriage because the state has an interest in healthy families and marriages. This is where I break from my libertarian friends who are like, this shouldn't even be a discussion among the state. No, the state has an interest in healthy families. It's the best vehicle for the production of future citizens. Is a healthy family with a mom and a dad pouring male and female traits into the child. What happens, from my perspective, Bill, is when we can't define things, laws end up being confusing and bad. I'll give you an example. When the left can't tell you what a woman is, you end up with dudes playing in women's sports. So if we're going to define marriage, it needs to be an accurate definition of marriage, and marriage as defined throughout history, with the exception of like the last 10, 15 years, is one man, one woman.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you, Bill.
Yeah, for me, I dislike the fact that it's in the state constitution, just as a general rule, as we talked about before. But that's just kind of a large umbrella argument. For me, where I think that it does need to be removed out of the state constitution is not in direct disagreement of your platform in any way, shape, or form, Jeff. I can absolutely agree with you within reason. And what I mean by that is inside of our society, we have two forms of marriage. We have a religious form of marriage and we have a civil form of marriage. And I would never tell any religion how they have to hold a religious ceremony, who should be married, or anything in any way, shape, or form. The government should never talk to them. But inside of a civil relationship, our threshold for what we consider married is so low. It basically is a contractual relationship between two adults. The sex of those adults, to me, seems irrelevant. And that's why I say that it shouldn't be codified inside of our Constitution this way. Because, and the example I'll give is, we can say that two men shouldn't be recognized as a marriage. However, we can have a male or a female listener to our show right now wander on down to Civic Center Park, find someone of the opposite sex. Within 24 hours, apply for a civil marriage license. They then are considered married as long as they have a couple of shared assets. They don't have to live in the same house. They don't have to live in the same state. They never even have to make sure that marriage biblically is sealed. They don't ever have to sleep together. They can go out and sleep with whoever they want. In fact, the female can go out and sleep with a long list of all the females she wants to, and the male can go out and sleep with a long list of males that he wants to. But they still have access to a certain number of laws, rules, regulations, and tax breaks that are only given to people in that civil relationship, in that civil union. And I don't care if we change the name. I'm fine with that. I just think that because of how our society views that specific relationship between two adults, giving all the trappings of religion don't make any sense. So for me, it's two different versions of it. Now, if we want to change the name to civil marriage and make it something else, civil union, go right ahead. Don't care. But for me, it's just having those two people should have the ability to have access to all the laws and all the breaks, because regardless of what sex they are, just because of how we look at it civilly. So that's the only reason I come down on that one. It's not a religious argument in any way, shape, or form. It's just basically a legal argument that I think those two people should be allowed to have access to the same laws that a heterosexual couple should, rather than a homosexual couple being restricted from that. That's just where I come down on it.
So Amendment J is an oppose from me and a support from Bill. Is that the first one we've differed on?
I think so. That's really weird.
All right.
How weird is that? I would not have guessed that it would take us 6 to figure out a place where we don't agree. I like that, my friend. I like that.
Amendment K, change deadlines for filing initiative and referendum petition signatures and judicial retention notice deadlines to remove 1 week in order to allow 1 extra week for the Secretary of State to certify ballots, order, and content, and election officials' deadline to transmit ballots. This comes from the Secretary of State and the county clerks who are going, there's too many questions on the ballot. It takes too long. It's too hard. We need an extra week. And I go, well, I really feel for you. Like that is hard. I think they have like 4 days to respond to this. And to Lisa Frizzell's credit, who introduced this, she and I had a great conversation back and forth. And I really appreciate Lisa taking the time to talk with me about it. Here's the only thing that gives me the opposition to it.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact we're taking away a week from the people to gather signatures in order to help the county clerks. It's the only reason. If we want to help the county clerks, okay, can we just move the whole thing a week earlier? Why is it necessary to cut out the citizens' ability to collect signatures, because I had a lot of good friends working on parental bill of rights, working on protecting girls from boys in sports, that didn't have enough time to get the signatures. And so I don't get the point of taking away a week from them.
And this is the dark side of my personality that is going to come out here. Now, I am not in favor of this, but for a completely different reason than you are. I'm not in favor of this because welcome to the real world. I mean, I'm sorry, but inside of the regular real world, not the government world, but inside the regular real world, all the time, our listeners, I'm certain, have been in jobs in which the team is 9 people. And because of money, the company's gone, you know what? We had to fire 2 people today. Oh, man. And the rest of you are going to have to split up the extra work. Good luck. Oh, are we getting more raises for that? No, you're not getting any raises. Do we get extra time? No, not at all. Just do it. Do it, or you're going to be fired next. I'm sorry. How many times has the average Jill Lunchbox going to work been told by their employer, yeah, deadline sucks, everything else, do it. Get it done. How many times has your employer come in and because the team has been changing, you've gone through that classic restructuring, and I'm using air quotes, which just means we fire a bunch of people, everybody up top gets raises and bonuses, and the rest of you are doing more work for less money. How many times has that happened in your life as an employee? Yeah, I'm sorry. For me, I mean, again, I like our county clerks. I like the Secretary of State's office. Not always the fan of the person there, but I'm sorry. Put on your big girl pants, put on your big boy pants, deal with it. The rest of us have had to deal with it for years. Sorry. Yes, it sucks. Extra deadlines suck. All the extra things that are piling up on your desk suck. Yep. Welcome to the real world. That's how the rest of us have to deal with it. So I have no empathy here for it. I have zero empathy because the rest of us have had to deal with it. So I'm sorry. Get a helmet. I'm sorry. I apologize. I got no empathy on this one.
Billy being tough. Wow.
I know.
All right. We'll continue this conversation, a review of the 14 different ballot initiatives you're going to face on your ballot this November. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
What if this sound actually made you smile, giving you a chance to win gas and groceries for a year? It's the $13,000 gas and grocery giveaway. The grand prize winner gets $10,000 in gas and grocery gift cards. 2 first prize winners get $1,000 in gift cards. And 2 second prize winners get $500 in gift cards.
Presented by Branch Planning. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. The $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway. Enter today at 710knus.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I talking particularly about Proposition 127, which is next on our ballot guide review. You can go to my website, jeffhunt.com, if you want to see the ballot guide. It's right there at the very top. Prohibition on the hunting of mountain lions, lynx, and bobcats.
Yeah.
And why Derek Wolf isn't.
I was going to tell you that we do have. I do have my ballot guide. But they keep it in the bathroom here, so that people, when they have an emergency, they have extra paper to wipe themselves with. Because that's how much it's valued. Yes, I'm teasing. So yeah, Proposition 127. You're talking. Yeah, Derek Wolf. Derek Wolf should be the face of this.
Should be the face of this.
Yes, he should.
This is one that. Why are we, as voters, telling people what they can hunt or not hunt in this state? That's the job of Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Yeah.
And we hosted somebody on Friday about this. And he pointed out that since they allowed controlled hunting of mountain lions, the population has been well managed. It's actually way bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah, this is what I don't understand about Proposition 127 is we have people that have experience. We have people in this state that have devoted their employment to being wildlife managers. And then we're going to ask the voters how they should do their job. I don't understand this. I don't understand this at all, because last time I walked into King Soopers or Safeway, they didn't ask me how the manager there should be managing the store. They didn't ask me when the store shelves should be stocked. Didn't ask me how many checkers should be opened. Nobody asked me any of that stuff. Last time I walked into a restaurant in my neighborhood, didn't ask me when the busy time was. Didn't take my vote on how many servers they should have or when happy hour should start or end. And I think it should be 10 a.m. when we're off the air. But still.
But the kitty cat.
I know. That's
someone put their head on a wall.
That's the thing for me.
We've got to stop it.
We have wildlife managers. Why? What? You don't think they're doing their job right? And that's the issue is, no, we obviously can't have the managers do their job. We should let everybody else
see
do this.
the mess that the wolves have created where we're now having to relocate them. Some are not making it. You have rancher conflicts. And prior to all that, CPW generally had this figured out. There were wolves already in Colorado. But now the people are like, no, go get them from Canada and import them into the state. And now we have all these challenges and problems.
We
It's
want
called
those immigrant
ballot
wolves.
box biology.
Not those regular wolves. Immigrant wolves. Get them from somewhere else. Don't you know how we are a sanctuary city here, damn it. We have to have the immigrant wolves. It's okay. Now, everybody that is a Broncos fan understands that during this last draft, the Broncos sent out a huge list and they asked you, who do you think the Broncos should draft first? They wanted to know. There was a multiple choice and there was an essay question about why you're making that choice. And they took it into consideration. No, they didn't, because they have people in charge. They have people they decided were managers because of their ability and experience, and they can focus on what the real issues were for the team and how we can correct that. They didn't ask the average fan how to manage the team. That's what they're doing here. They're asking the average citizen how to manage a predator. And that's incredibly important, because once you remove it from the big game list, it's going to be treated differently. That's going to be a big thing in your life.
So Billy and I, I'm guessing, I'm definitely opposed to 127. I'm guessing
opposed.
you are as well. The full ballot guide at jeffhunt.com. We'll continue the conversation. We still got a few more to get through. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. It's Monday morning, September 23rd, and we are off and running, getting the work done in the greatest country in history. And we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Phone lines are open, 720-237-1971. Sorry, that is not it. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-819-5115. I got too many phone numbers.
Yeah, low-key, that is the hardest part. That's one of the hardest things about this silly job is you think there's so many things that are easy, but remembering the phone number is hard because in the rest of your life, you're giving your own cell phone number or an office phone number, and so then to switch at this one, the number of times I've almost given out my cell phone number, I almost gave out my email address the other day on the air. Like,
303-696-1971. It's Monday morning. Let's get after it. Dan Kaplos text line, Dan Kaplos Law text line number 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. After news and commentary with Blake Olson, want to get into the ballot guide that we put together. I put together at jeffhunt.com. At the very top there, you can see it as ballot guide. We've got 14 ballot questions. These are statewide ballot questions. You're going to get a whole bunch from your city and county as well. This is a big year because it's a big turnout. It's a presidential campaign. So everybody wants their stuff on the ballot. We're going to help you think through all 14 of them so you can be an informed voter. So go to jeffhunt.com. At the very top there in the navigation bar, you'll see ballot guide. Up next, Proposition 128, which changes parole eligibility requirements.
Yeah, and
basically.
So far, you and I've only disagreed on one.
I know. Nuts. That's not enough.
Who
would
have guessed?
Everybody that texts in who thinks you're a raging lib,
they are,
and I'm a right-wing nut.
Exactly.
We're actually finding a lot of common ground here.
Who would have had that on their bingo card? this far into it, we only disagreed on one of them. I know.
Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, that's amazing. Only one. That's crazy. I would have never guessed that. 44 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 81 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, the Denver City Council will be discussing a proposed redevelopment plan for the area around Ball Arena today. Kroenke Sports and Entertainment has proposed a project that would connect different parts of downtown while creating retail and office space, housing, and open space. If the project is approved, a public hearing on the redevelopment will be held next month.
Brother, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We will not go back. And it's great to be back in Madison.
They're not going back. They're not going back to a stronger border, lower prices at the grocery store and gas station. They're not going back to lower interest rates or safer and cleaner cities. They're not going back to fewer illegal immigrants who've been let out of prisons in their home country in order to wreak hell on ours. They're not going back to common sense and anti-woke quality educations for children. Kash Patel is stumping for the president.
We are facing the biggest projection con artists of our lifetime with Harris and the radical left wing. They accuse us of every single thing they are doing. They try to imprison our great leader illegally time and time again. They raid our houses of worship. They tell us where our children can go to school and what they should learn. Well, I don't know about you, but I want our future generation to know history, math, and economics. I don't want them to know gender fluidity at the age of 10.
But Kamala Khan has a new supporter. Who better to be endorsed by than the IRS union? Yes, that's who's endorsing Harris.
Well, guys, I was going to vote for Trump, and then I saw that the IRS union endorsed Kamala. That really pushed me over the edge, and now I think I'm going to side with the people that robbed me blind and vote for Kamala. These idiots. Why did they even post this? They should have thrown this so far under the rug. Yeah, vote for the people that the tax collectors are voting for, bro. No thanks.
The annual United Nations General Assembly in New York is underway. President Biden will address the Jewish haters on Tuesday. Vice President Harris will meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky and other world leaders and dictators, but it is not scheduled. She is not scheduled to attend the UN gathering of leftists, Marxists, communists, and socialists. Former President Trump says he will attend the Alabama-Georgia game on Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Trump's Secret Service team will be on high alert after 2 failed assassination attempts in recent months. Prosecutors are expected to argue that the man accused of wanting to shoot President Trump, former President Trump, should be held in custody while awaiting trial. Ryan Wesley Routh expected in court today. He is in court today, and evidently he was writing letters and stalking Trump for years. Who was funding this guy, really? Who was he working with? Who tipped him off? Maybe we'll find out. Jurors are deciding if the man on trial was sane or insane when he gunned down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder 3 years ago. They began deliberations Friday after closing arguments. Prosecutors claim Ahmad Alissa planned the massacre, while the defense maintains he suffers from mental illness and didn't know right from wrong.
Mayfield for the corner. It's intercepted. Intended for Evans. Taken out of the air by Brandon Jones, and he reverses field direction. Look out. Inside the 10 and down at the 9.
Defense did their job, and Bo Nix did his job. No interceptions and ran for a touchdown. Broncos sacked Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield 7 times on the way to a 26-7 victory on the road this week again at the Jets. CU in a dramatic overtime victory, if you missed it, over the weekend against Baylor, and CSU over UTEP. 42 in Glendale, 39 in Golden, 44 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Monday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Fall is officially here, and some very pleasant early autumn weather will be found here in Denver and along the Front Range this week. Enjoy it. Head up to the high country. Check out those changing fall colors. Mostly sunny. 70s to low 80s today, mid to upper 70s Tuesday, 70s and 80s Wednesday through Friday. Nights will be 40s and 50s. Weather sponsored by BranchPlanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at BranchPlanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, you're going to face 14 statewide questions on your ballot that does not include candidates, city, county, all other questions you're going to get. You're going to have to go through 14 questions that have to do with the state constitution, that have to do with propositions. Well, I spent some time, looked at them. I'm giving you my best analysis of them. If you disagree, give me a call. I want the conversation to happen publicly. And I got a lot of text messages from people wrong on this particular one. Well, give us a call. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. If you want to see it, you can print it out at jeffhunt.com. It's at the very top there. Ballot guide in the nav bar. Let's go to Francis Golden. Francis, how's the golf tournament on Friday?
Yeah, man. How was it?
I played pretty well Friday, but then I went out again yesterday just for 9, and I was beat up, man. I went to that Buffs game, and I tried to fit too much into a weekend. That's the hell
You
of
were
it.
at the Buffs game?
No
Yeah,
way.
stayed to the bitter end, man. It was fun. I had great seats. I went with a good buddy who has really good seats, and so we both kind of looked at each other like, I'm feeling something could happen here. And so we didn't bail. We were like, no, well, let's hang tough.
Okay, dude. Okay.
In the rain, too.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Okay. This is how you know. This is a couple of things here inside the conversation here with Francis on the Jeff and Bill show, where you're getting older. The first one is the idea of, oh, man, do we leave now to beat the traffic? As soon as you're talking about leaving early to beat the traffic, you're old. The other one is when you sit there and you're like, oh, gosh, we did a golf tournament and we went to a football game. Oh, I can't believe we did both of those. When usually it would have been something like you would have started partying like at the 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and you would have been lucky to be home by 5 a.m. on a Monday morning. Yeah.
All yesterday, my dogs were barking. I mean, I'm not kidding.
I bet.
It was just a lot of hoofing around.
Oh, and that is the worst. Because again, when you're younger, you're like, oh, you can just keep going and going and going. And it's just about the hangover and stuff. And now you're like, oh, my back hurts. I think, did I sit wrong and did I pull a calf muscle celebrating a touchdown? It's just awful, my friend. But happy birthday. We're glad you're doing
and
well.
Francis, Bill and I are always welcome and available to head to those types of games too.
Yes, exactly.
Any additional tickets,
Just in case.
it's a reverse radio giveaway.
Yes, it is.
Where the callers give to the hosts.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to try to scrounge some people up to go to the Mines game this weekend. Those are always a kick in the pants. They really are. So,
those are.
Nice. That sounds fun. So, Francis, what do you think of these propositions?
Hey, well, first of all, thanks for letting me holler in again. You guys are great, but this one's this one always is a burr under my saddle. I hate these things, and my default setting is to always say no. And my thinking is this. Because mostly these things are pet projects of various interest groups that couldn't get legislative support to get through any other process. Legislative, whether it be like local city councils, the state legislature, or anything else. And so by and large, these things, they serve to just gum up the Constitution. They gum everything up. And there's no, so unless there's a really good reason, I could probably get behind one or two of these. My default setting is just no and hell no. I don't want them on there. They're stupid. The mountain lion trophy hunt thing. Are you kidding me? How did that not get on a legislative agenda this last year, given the composition of our lunatic legislature?
That's a great point.
There's a reason, because it lets these legislators off the hook too. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is give those guys a reason to be sponsoring more than their 5 bills and get exemptions to clog up all of the agenda over.
Well, and if you remember, there was that effort to shut down fracking, and the voters are like, no, this is an important part of our economy. And then the next legislative session, they shut down fracking.
Yeah. They really care what you and I say, Francis.
No, I know. And also just, I don't know. I always, don't you, when you see people, looking for signatures outside of a King Soopers or something, I just am like, I almost, blanch in my mouth right then and there. I'm like, just get the hell out of my way. Where's the poor Girl Scouts? They got to sell some cookies. Why don't you guys
So,
get
Francis,
lost?
I will give you this perspective, though. This is the only avenue right now that conservatives have to impact policy and the state constitution. We can't. We just can't. We can't do it through the state legislature right now. So when Advanced Colorado, for instance, goes out, gets school choice into the Constitution, or this next one that requires, if you get convicted of a violent crime, you got to stay in prison till at least 85% of your sentence. There's no other avenue for conservatives. This is it for us.
Jeff, you make a great point. And that is like the other side of my coin, I think. But here's the problem, is that if you do it, if this is the only other way and you still want to get done what you want to get done, then I view this as kind of like a Republican Party problem, because you got to get your act together so that you're not in such a disadvantage in the legislature, and so that you can actually do things that matter other than initiative process. Because once again, initiative process is still a lot of pet projects and a lot of things that just can't get legislative support. I mean, the state does well when it's legislatively balanced. not when it's the way it is now.
And I
it's really,
actually think it does really well when it's balanced, and then we just get a governor that locks the door and is like, well, call me if there's an emergency.
I agree.
Francis, I want to run through this next one. Can you stick on while we run through Proposition 128? I want to hear your thoughts on this, and we'll hear Bill's as well. So this is an advanced Colorado initiative. Change parole eligibility requirements, requiring offenders convicted of certain violent crimes on or after January 1st of 2025 to serve at least 85% of their sentence before parole eligibility, and offenders with 2 prior violent crime convictions to serve their full sentence before beginning parole. Basically, frustration over these DAs that are funded by mega lib donors, creating soft on crime policies where the guys get out early. This one wants to require them to stay in at least 85%. I'm a supporter. We'll go to Bill. You're next.
Yeah, I support this one because, again, it's the idea of keeping violent offenders behind bars as long as possible. I can't imagine a scenario in which the community is going to be benefited by someone who has been convicted of a violent crime serving less time than what they were given. I can't, if they were given a sentence.
What about their feelings?
I know. Guess what? Don't care. Do not care at all. Nope, not in the least. And that's part of it. Is they were given a sentence saying the judge or the jury in the procedure decided that this was an appropriate punishment for what you had done. Then coming back and giving less seems to undercut, 1, the idea they should be punished for it, 2, that what they did in the first place is wrong. I can't imagine that as a parent, you say, okay, you're grounded for the next week, and you come back later in the day and go, it's only 2 days, and here, have your phone back. I can't imagine that kid is going to make a better choice next time. Just saying.
All right, Francis, your thoughts.
Okay, my thoughts on this is that, yes, okay, this is definitely one I can get behind because it gives definitives. It gives absolute parameters for sentencing. And I think what it does, and I think this works this way behind the scenes, but I'd defer to the George Brocklers of the world, is that when you have these sort of things, and I think it tends to not get things overcharged, like crimes overcharged, and it makes it more likely that there's going to be plea deals because it unclogs the dockets, because if you're going to be offered something less than, and you know exactly what you're going to have to serve, you may be more inclined to take that rather than roll the dice. I'm all about unclogging these dockets. You know what? Our murderer guy up in Boulder. I mean, this whole trial, this huge waste, it's cost millions of dollars, is all to be whether or not he should be in a mental health facility incarcerated, or incarcerated.
2.5 years after that shooting took place.
Ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous.
wild.
And you know what, if you had the death penalty in place, and I'm not philosophically a big supporter of the death penalty, this joker would have taken a plea, and this wouldn't have cost us a nickel.
Yeah,
and that's just wrong.
Francis,
So I'm all behind it.
Great call. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Francis's
thanks, man.
line will be open.
I'm glad you had a good birthday. That's so cool.
303-696-1971. 303-696-1971 is the text line. I'm going to get to Proposition 129. This one's a little interesting as well.
This is interesting.
Look, if you're like me, you know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather, hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it, we got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust, and that's Colorado's Best Roofing. I love Steve, man. This guy is great. He came in, spent some time with us, got to tour his facility as well. This is a deep man of faith who uses his business as a way to serve people. It's a way to honor God, and it's all about service and craftsmanship. He's not out there doing the Walmart, all the roofs that he can get, mass distribution type of thing. No, he's about craftsmanship. They're local, family-owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and how to build a roof that lasts. Whether you need a repair after a storm, just a little one, or a whole new roof, Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no-obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, and give you an honest assessment. No pressure, no gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, They work with your insurance company to make sure you get the coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today at 303-797-7663. That's 303-797-7663. Or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's Best Roofing. All right. Proposition 129 creates the profession of veterinary professional associate, VPA, requiring a master's degree and registration with the State Board of Veterinary Medicine. So bottom line, right now in the state of Colorado, the only person that can do surgeries or prescribe medicine to animals are fully educated veterinarians. So the doctorate, all that stuff. We don't have enough of them. And if you've probably experienced this like we do, you either got to wait a long time to get into a veterinary clinic, or you're going to go pay a lot of money at those like emergency vet clinics where they just charge a lot. This basically, from my perspective, and I know the opponents disagree with this, but it creates like a physician assistant program, but for pets.
Yeah.
And I'm supportive of it. I think it kind of deregulates the industry and allows another avenue of job creation, of animal care. And I believe it provides the right oversight, because you can't just open a VPA clinic. You have to be managed by a veterinarian themselves.
Yeah.
So there's an actual doc there. But if you need to get like eye cream for your dog or something like that, scheduling a whole appointment with a veterinarian is just like, I just need the prescription. Come on, help me out.
Yeah. What I like about this is not only does it create the new level of care, but also it's tied in with education and registration with the state. That to me is primarily important, that they're not just taking existing staff. They're saying this is staff plus with education would then have the ability to do this. And it is about getting the individual, you, our listeners, quicker care when your dog, cat, or any sort of animal is in distress. And there are going to be certain types of injuries that are going to require the vet to see them. But there are other types of injuries, just like we have, nurse practitioners, that you don't need to see the full vet. And the other part is, now I know that right now, this is the other part for me that's kind of tangential. It can and should be cheaper, in theory, because you shouldn't have to pay the full cost to see the vet. So regardless of if you have, I know that a lot of people have are starting to get pet insurance, but if you do or don't, this should also lower your bill, because you should be charged less to see the VPA, the veterinary professional associate, than you would to be charged on the full doc. And I'm just saying that any of you that do have either pet insurance or even just human insurance, and you're only seeing the nurse practitioner rather than the doc, check your billing coding, because oftentimes the insurance will bill you for seeing the full doctor, even though you didn't. They'll try to get extra money that way. Watch your billing when that happens to you. Make sure you write it down in your calendar, and do check your billing on the back end, because they will dock you that way all the freaking time, because they don't think you're going to check. So that's just a side note. But yes, for me, this is about getting better care quicker, and because it involves registration and because it involves education, I am all for it, because then the vet can manage a larger office and you can see more people, and also you can allow those VPNs or VPAs, the veterinary professional associates, the ability to then also complete more education and become a vet themselves.
That's right.
Yep. So you're this is like an apprentice program. I'm all in favor of it.
So the folks behind this, the Denver Dumb Friends League and CSU, the people opposed to it, every veterinarian association.
Yeah, because they don't want the competition.
That was the sense I got reading it.
Yeah.
I mean, they have these like scare tactics, like it only requires an online course and you can perform major surgery. I'm like, I read the bill. That doesn't come across. It's you can just take an online course.
Yeah.
So it seems like the veterinarian associations are overplaying this.
And again, if it is possible to take an online course that teaches you how to do surgery on either a pet or a human, I want to know what course that is so I can avoid those doctors. I'm not going to the doctor regardless that went through the online surgery portion of the education. I just need that enumerated for me. After that, we're good.
All right, Proposition 130, create the Peace Officer Training and Support Fund to provide funding for law enforcement training, retention, and hiring, training surrounding the use of force, and the death benefits for surviving spouses and children of officers or first responders killed in the line of duty. This is Proposition 130. It forces the state legislature to, I think it's about $350 million, into a fund. Now, this is not a tax increase.
No, the money exists already.
Okay. This is saying to the legislature, all right, we know you got all your little pet projects. You got the long bill, but you're going to have to take a portion of that, and it's got to go towards recruiting, training, keeping law enforcement, which after all of the defund the police nonsense we went through, we really need an effort to go out there and get good cops back. Secondly, it creates a fund for widows, for family members who've lost loved ones who were police or first responders. I'm supportive of this. I know Republicans who are not, because they don't like the idea of opening up this can of worms where all of a sudden now we're going to have all these ballot initiatives forcing the state legislature to create particular funds with the general funding, because you can now have think Green New Deal fund, whatever, that the libs can now put through. Should we be forcing the legislature to do this? They're duly elected. It's the job and role of lawmakers to manage the budget. That's why Krista Kafer came out in the Denver Post against it. I love this idea of forcing a bunch of liberal lawmakers to fund the police after they're all sitting there doing defund the police stuff. So I'm in support of it. Billy?
Yeah. I actually come down more on the idea of supporting it. And it's because of two different things. One, I understand that our legislature has a giant Scrooge McDuck vault of money that they go and swim in on their off times. And I'm okay with carving out a segment of that and saying this is where we're going to direct that money. Because oddly enough, I don't think that our legislature, regardless of who's in control, Republican or Democrat, are always going to spend my money in my best interest. I just disagree with that. So if I'm going to carve out and say, here is a fund that is going to have to go to X, and this is where this money is going to go to, I am perfectly fine with that, especially because it's not a new tax. We're just taking it and we're portioning it out of what already exists. That I'm fine with. But more importantly, the survival benefits, that's a very important thing for me, because that can be very difficult for families. And I think that part of when those individuals in law enforcement do make that amazing sacrifice for us, that we do need to do something to try. We never can, but to try to make the family whole and at least take away some of that stress while they're trying to recover, and maybe set them up so they don't have to worry about some other things later in life, like furthering education for the kids and making sure the house is paid off. I don't think that's, I want to make sure they're taken care of. But most importantly, inside of this is the recruitment and retention. People that have listened here to the Jeff and Bill show know that I have more than my fair share of rocks to throw at law enforcement. I do believe that we're awful at getting rid of those bad apples. I think that too many times the men and women in blue are protecting those individuals that are a detriment to the force for one reason or another. We can disagree about how and why, but the one thing I am certain of is if we don't go out there and try to expand recruiting, if we don't go out there and we don't start paying them more and paying them to retain those officers, it is not going to be the bad apples that are going to leave. It's going to be the good apples. And the only way that I see functionally right now to mitigate the impact of those bad apples is to get more good apples. And this does it for me, because we are focused on recruitment and we're focused on retention. And I understand and acknowledge that they put on that uniform, that badge every day, and they go out there and they know that they may not come home to their families at night. Okay.
Have you ever done a ride along?
Yeah. And
dude, they're freaky.
Yeah, they are. They're absolutely insane.
You feel like you have a target on you. My best friend in college is a sheriff's deputy.
Yeah.
Did a ride along with him, and you're like, it's like riding around with a big target on you.
Yeah, because
I like just living a quiet little life where I don't have to worry about that.
Oh, there's part of me that, okay, this will lead into something different, is there are certain colors of cars I will never own because of urban camouflage. I don't want to be in the yellow or the red car. I hate red cars. I don't want to be that car that stands out in the middle of the group because of urban camouflage. And if you're in a police car, that pops out no matter what.
I know.
Mean, again,
and they all look at you as you drive by, and you're just
it is. And it's one of those things where I totally get it. And for me, again, if I'm going to want to see the impact and the change that I hope to see inside of our law enforcement, not paying them well enough and not recruiting the best people is a detriment. We're not going to get to where I want our law enforcement to be. So I need to basically put my money and my vote where my mouth is. And I believe that by taking this money out of our general fund and putting it aside to make this aspect better, we are going to get more good apples. And hopefully those good apples will eventually push the bad ones out or make it so uncomfortable that they're not going to protect them anymore. This to me is part of a solution for something I want. So 110% I am behind this one. 110%.
That is Proposition 130. So far, Billy and I have only disagreed on one.
I know. I thought I was a super lib on this
of
show.
11 propositions. We've got 3 left. We'll get to those. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
What if this sound actually made you smile, giving you a chance to win gas and groceries for a year? It's the $13,000 gas and grocery giveaway. The grand prize winner gets $10,000 in gas and grocery gift cards. 2 first prize winners get $1,000 in gift cards. And 2 second prize winners get $500 in gift cards.
Presented by Branch Planning. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. The $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway. Enter today at 710knus.com.
What if
At this hour, I'm Christina Weil in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
A giant-sized figure of President Donald Trump is making its way through the streets of Japan. People paying tribute to the president, repeating the words Trump spoke directly following the first assassination attempt when he stood up with blood on his face, fist in the air, and yelled, "Fight," 3 times. The video quickly going viral on social media, with many commenting that they love the support the president is getting from overseas. President Donald Trump bringing 2 of his grandkids up on stage during his rally in North Carolina, much to the delight of the supporters in the stands. After he brought Carolina up on stage, he brought Carolina's slightly older brother Luke on stage, behind, of course, the bulletproof glass put up to protect the president after 2 failed assassination attempts.
Vote for Grandpa.
Oh. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, honey. Great job.
Officials in Oklahoma have just announced that they've removed more than 453,000 ineligible names from the voter rolls, including more than 97,000 dead people and almost 15,000 duplicate registrations that somehow made it into the system.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Weil, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, covering this long 14-question statewide ballot. We put together a guide for you. My perspective, jeffhunt.com. It doesn't reflect my employer. It doesn't even reflect Bill. But at this point, Bill and I have agreed on everything with the exception of one.
It's so strange.
So there you go. Proposition 131. This will change how we do all the elections. And it's a disaster. Okay. You ever heard of a jungle primary?
Yeah.
It essentially gets rid of primaries and establishes a top 4 open primary election and ranked choice voting for U.S. Senate, House of Representatives, Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, Treasurer, Colorado University, Board of Regents, State Board of Education, and the state legislature. So here's what they want you to do. You're going to get a ballot with everybody that's running on it, not just the top Republican and Democrat and Libertarian, everybody. And you will sit down and you will rank everybody. And if you don't fill it out properly with your little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, however many candidates are running, your ballot is tossed. Wherever they have tried this, whether it's Alaska or Washington, D.C., they're like, that was a mistake. Hold up. Wait a minute. Go back. This was a disaster. In some of those elections, 11% of the ballots were tossed because people don't know how to fill them out properly. When tried, ranked choice voting has resulted in mass confusion, tossed ballots, illegitimate elections, and an overall reduction in election quality. It's such a confusing way to vote that many people don't understand it, and as a result, they have their ballots tossed. It reduces election transparency and integrity. It makes elections more difficult for voters and weakens accountability. I'm opposed to Proposition 131. Bill?
The other thing it does is in certain areas, it marginalizes one political party or another. Now, we've seen this in Alaska. In certain areas in Alaska, Republicans have a very, very hard time getting elected because of this ranked choice voting. Not because there aren't a lot of Republicans, but because they're big mad. And what I mean by is we've seen it in a direct
Sarah
example.
Palin.
Yep. A direct example is in Alaska is a great way to look at it, because what happens is, let's imagine that we have a primary for whatever office we're running for here. And 3 of them are Democrats and 2 are Republicans. And the 2 Republicans, because of the voting demographics, really go at each other. And the Democrats go at each other too, but in a different way. And what happens is, they've seen in Alaska, because it's been so divisive between the 2 Republican candidates, when it comes time to ranked choice vote, they'll pick the Republican as their first choice and then take Democrats as their next choice to prove a point. So what happens is the Republican doesn't get enough votes to break through, and they're left with only Democrats on the primary ballot. That's the problem with this, is it dilutes, in my mind, how these choices are being made. I'm of 2 minds. I don't think this is a good idea, although I could be persuaded. And the only reason that I could be persuaded is because already I keep hearing from mostly one political party in our state that having people that aren't of your political party in your primary dilutes your voice and is illegal. It should be illegal, and we can't possibly have that. And because we're our own group, we should be allowed to choose our own people. I think that ignores the fact that eventually you're going to have to talk to the rest of the people about who they want and whether or not they agree with you. I think it is myopic at its core. And if that's the issue, this is going to be the solution. If the idea is we can't have open primaries and open primaries are such a bad idea, the libs are going to grab this jungle primary and go, fine, we'll just go ranked choice. Now you don't have any closed or open primaries. That's what they're going to do. That's where this is coming from in my mind. This is a fight against the lawsuits that are arguing to have closed primaries in Colorado. They're just going to break the entire system.
So Kent Thiry is behind this, the former CEO of DaVita, and his perspective is this is how you break up a single state party monopoly. So the Democrats have implemented jungle primaries in Republican states and taken control. So let's just reverse it and go back.
Yeah.
I just think it's too confusing. It's too frustrating. And now, speaking of what county clerks have to go through, it's not just one bubble filled out. You have to rank. And in one case, this happened, I think, in Orange County. They got it wrong.
Yeah.
They counted it wrong. And 4 months later, they realized the wrong person was in office and they swapped him out.
Yeah.
So
and the other part, and the other part being is that when I'm choosing my candidates, I'm going to choose the best one at that point. If some are eliminated, my choice might be different. If my second, third, fourth place choice, if my second place choice is eliminated, the third or fourth may be someone that I want to. I may flip the two of them. So the idea that I am going to be able to tell you who I want at the top of the ticket here, and then also based on after we eliminate some of these, that might change. There may be someone that will be eliminated that will be very important to me. So that's the other part that I push back on this, that if we wanted to do it as a jungle primary, then it should be each round. Then you say, okay, we're going to eliminate this many. Then you go back, you vote again. This many, and you go back and you vote again. Just like when you're in the assembly process or other voting structures. For me, it's just messy. Yeah.
So we're in agreement on Proposition 131, opposition to ranked choice voting. Last two, Proposition JJ, allow the state to retain tax revenue collected above $29 million annually from the tax on sports betting proceeds. All right, I'm going to begin by qualifying this and saying, I hate sports betting. I think it's the stupidest thing out there. I think you're just handing money to a casino. Nobody does this. I watch these MGM ads and these trade DraftKings ads, and I'm like, you are such a sucker if you fall for sports betting. I think it's the stupidest thing to do. The only thing stupider is allowing the government to keep the money it took in above what it already budgeted for. They're a total waste of money. Yeah. So while I disagree with sports betting and was in opposition to it coming to Colorado, I think it's even dumber to keep excessive tax revenue with the government, give it back to the people.
Yeah, I'm not a huge thing as the expansion of sports betting. I'm not a huge person that's an advocate for that. I'm not necessarily a huge opponent, but I do think it is rather stupid. In fact, we have a longtime radio station that was kind of a stalwart in the community that had been around for decades, playing some great music, that's now an all sports betting station. Thank you.
Really?
Yes.
They do that, like they just talk sports betting all day?
That's all it is sports betting. And the reason it has that is because it's a contract with the company that owns that particular radio station. Gotcha. And what they did is they signed a contract nationally, and they said, we will put one of your sports betting radio shows stuff on our signals all the way across America, because look at all the radio stations we have. So they then went into markets and said, hi, it's a very nice group of radio stations you have. Which one of them is now going to do sports betting? And the local market went, right, we're doing this with the, shut up. You're going to change this now. So this was something top down. So we now have an entire station that is focused only on sports betting here in Denver. And I think that's just stupid, nor is it a very good radio program per se. The other thing that I disagree with is when you collect more tax revenue than you need, that somehow the government gets to keep it.
Right. Exactly.
I have such a hard time wrapping my head around the idea that what we need to do is let the government keep more of our money that they weren't planning on using to begin with, as if they're going to make a better choice with it.
Exactly.
Yes,
100%.
I can make so much better choices about it. And it is nice to get that money back when the government over collects. It keeps them responsible, and you know what would happen once they get that largesse. They'll want to hang on to it forever.
Forever.
And all they're going to look at is ways to increase it. They're like, wait, we got more money from X than we were anticipating. How can we increase that revenue stream? They're never going to look at restricting that revenue stream. They're never going to come back and say, oh, we should obviously lower the taxes on sports betting because we collected more. That'll never happen. They're going to keep increasing it. So yeah, this is a nightmare.
All right, we've done 13 of 14 statewide ballot initiatives. There's only one left. Billy and I have agreed on all of them, but one.
This is crazy.
What's the last one going to be? We'll get to that. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk. It's a new line. I can't say the new line. It's going to take weeks. Okay, here's our new line. We are now Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, talking 14 statewide ballot initiatives that you are going to have to answer for, you citizens of Colorado. We've got the guide up at jeffhunt.com. It reflects my viewpoint, not my employer, not Billy's, although Billy and I have gotten along on all of them, with the exception of one. I can actually define marriage. Just all right. Let's go to Jay Sterling. Good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Morning, you guys. Thanks for your energetic personalities in the morning. It helps a lot.
Especially on a Monday.
Yeah, it's all the coffee.
Oh, it's all the coffee.
Oh,
huh?
yeah. The coffee and the vodka I put in the coffee. That's that's the way. That's the key.
Oh,
It's the
okay, kind of like
additives.
Johnny Carson.
Yeah, exactly, my friend. Exactly. What's on your mind, Jay?
Hey, do you think there's any such thing as this inside betting to where like players on the field would get something or have somebody else invested in something as far as gambling goes?
Yeah.
I mean, because I've heard stories over the course of my days. I mean, I'm only 48 years old, but still you hear rumors of stuff like that to where they could throw the game a different direction. But it might not be the personal player, but everybody else they know betting all kinds of high dollar, $100,000 bets on games.
Yeah, I would say that yes. Now, is it large scale inside of the U.S.? I have nothing to show that. Are there going to be some things here and there? Yeah, but remember, you're not going to ever fix a game to win. You're going to fix a game to lose, and that's going to be the difference. And they're huge betting scandals. And even I'm a soccer guy, way outside the purview of our U.S. Our U.S. sports, in the late 2000s, somewhere around 2006 to 2010, there was a huge scandal in Italy where Juventus, AC Milan, Fiorentina, and Lazio were all tied into a bid where basically they were match fixing, where they were shaving off points and they were doing things and putting pressure on referees and paying people off in order to make it happen because there's so much money involved in sports. And a good friend of mine, and you may have heard him on the radio, Reggie Rivers, actually wrote an entire book about how he would fix a Super Bowl. So there's so much money inside of it, yes, but we even had NBA referees shaving points as well. So there's enough money inside of it, but right now we don't see a large scale anyway.
And I think it's just giving money to casinos. They're not in the charity business. I really appreciate it. All right, we've got to wrap this up. Proposition KK, last one. Levy a 6.5 excise tax on firearms and ammunition manufacturing and sales in order to create a fund for crime victims, service programs, education. We don't tax our First Amendment rights. Why do we got to tax the Second Amendment rights? I'm opposed to this.
Yeah, for me, I don't really see any problem with it. I'm not necessarily opposed, but I'm not necessarily support. For me, if we want to take money and tax people that are going to be involved in buying more guns and ammunition and stuff, okay, we tax all sorts of things all the time. And so if this is how we're going to raise the money, I'm not necessarily against it. I don't think that this, to me, doesn't create a barrier to entry to anybody that is a firearms enthusiast or wants to exercise
Makes
their
it
Second
more
Amendment.
expensive. 6.5%.
Yeah.
Excise tax.
Well, I understand, but I don't think that 6.5% is a barrier to entry. I don't think it's not a 100% tax, a 200% tax. It's not that type of thing. It does make it more expensive, but I think that the market will adjust.
But it's a constitutional right. We don't tax your First Amendment rights.
Yeah, but we use taxes in different ways as well, and maybe we do tax our First Amendment rights based on things like how we turn around and support certain. We can talk about the NPR, being a First Amendment. Does the government needs to support them? And that could be, I know, but that could be a tax. You could argue supports a First Amendment right, or at least media. So it is interesting, and I understand we don't tax any of their constitutional rights. I'm not certain about that. I'd have to dig further into that one, but that doesn't mean we can't. That's the other part. Just because we don't doesn't mean we can't.
Are you going to stay neutral on this? Are you going to pull the lever? Are you going to fill in the little bubble? One or the other?
That's going to be one that I'm probably going to, it'll be, what did I eat the night before and whether or not I have indigestion? How am I feeling? It'll probably be a feelings one on that one.
All right. So we are 2 for 14 on disagreement. That's 1 out of 7.
That is crazy.
Billy and I are a lot more agreement. We'll have to see how this all works out. This was my own personal ballot guide. I did this at the Centennial Institute. I wanted to help you think through these 14 statewide initiatives. You can access it at jeffhunt.com to download the podcast there. Give us a call. What do you think of these? Am I right? Am I wrong? 303-696-1971. Text us at the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Yasmin Navarro is going to join us. She's running for State Board of Education. We'll ask her the tough questions about how to improve education in Colorado. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk Sept and US.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. We're kicking off this Monday, September 23rd with you. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest take from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you woke up in the greatest country in history, and we're off running for another week to make this world a better place. We're up for a whole other hour and keep these critical now. Most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Yasmin Navarro is going to join us. She's a candidate for the State Board of Education. In Congressional District 8, we divide up our state board reps by congressional district. So her and Gabe Evans are up there running together. She is the Republican nominee for State Board of Education.
Wait, side note here. Were you watching the Chiefs and Falcons game at all last night?
Oh, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, speaking of refs not calling things.
Yeah, oh, yeah, exactly. But what I want to know is, and this is what I want to know, is I want to know about the demographic, because you live a little bit further away, geographically than I do. We're outside of each other's zip codes. So last night during Chiefs Falcons, I am getting ads for Gabe Evans.
Oh, yeah.
But I got opponent ads as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
what's her name? The doctor that paid herself at her own campaign. That's how I know her.
right.
Again, name doesn't matter to me. That's every time I see her, that's what I remember. Oh yeah, you're the doctor that makes so much money as a doctor. You had to pay yourself a salary out of your own campaign funds, which I question that to begin with, but that's okay. Yeah.
Caraveo.
Yep, they were running Caraveo ads last night.
Oh yeah, and they run them back
Chiefs
and
Falcons.
forth.
Yes.
They run them back and forth. So, you'll get one that's all about Gabe Evans. And Gabe, I appreciate Gabe Evans. I'm a supporter of Gabe Evans, but
I like him a lot.
When he goes, all the criminals coming across and all the drugs and everything is terrible in your life, and all of it is Yadiro Caraveo's fault. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's one of those where it's again a parent understands those type of broad generalizations, the kids will break them apart and then they won't listen to you anymore. So there's the idea that it coming out and saying it's all her fault. No, but she is one of the votes that ensures this is going to happen. She's the vote that is going to make sure these people still happening there. She's a vote against change. That's what you have. That's your thing. But yeah, giving her that much power, because here's the problem.
Everything in your life that's terrible is all the result of her.
Yep. And the reason that's difficult is then if we do elect Gabe Evans, then if everything in my life doesn't become better, who do I blame? He's setting up a really difficult proposition at that time. But again, I am not consulted, nor did they pay me to do anything about the ads.
And we're not even going to talk about that race. In fact, we're going to talk about a different race. Yasmin Navarro, she's a candidate for State Board of Education in District 8. How can she improve schools and the quality of our kids' education here in Colorado? We'll get to that conversation. But up next, news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, happy Monday, Jeff and Billy. 53 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 81 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the Department of Justice says the man suspected of the assassination attempt on former President Trump in Florida wrote letters about his plan. In a new court filing Monday, prosecutors said Ryan Ralph dropped off a box at a witness's home months before the assassination attempt. A letter inside was addressed to the world and said, "This was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I failed you." Lebanese officials say Israeli airstrikes killed nearly 200 people and injured hundreds of others today. Israel had warned Lebanese citizens to evacuate from areas where it said Hezbollah had been storing weapons. Iran, which backs the Lebanese terrorists, is warning there will be what they call a dangerous consequence for the airstrikes in southern Lebanon. The Denver City Council will be discussing a proposed redevelopment plan for the area around Ball Arena today. Kroenke Sports and Entertainment has proposed a project that would connect different parts of downtown while creating retail and office units, housing, and open space. If the project is approved, a public hearing on the redevelopment will be held next month.
Brother, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We will not go back. And it's great to be back in Madison.
Kamala Khan's not going back. things are great the way they are, and the people cheer. God help us. Kash Patel gives me hope.
Is our juggernaut of justice. But we have to marshalize behind them because we have the truth. They don't have that. Kamala Harris does not have a single national security policy that is better than President Trump's. If she did, she would have implemented it 4 years ago instead of stealing his ideas. And when it comes to national security, whether I was serving as a deputy director of national intelligence or chief of staff, the mission was simple when I walked into the Oval Office. President Trump said singularly, we are going to kill the emirs of ISIS. We are going to wipe out al-Qaeda's senior leadership. We are going to end the forever wars. We are going to crush the narco traffickers. We are going to stop the CCP fentanyl. And we are going to restore American diplomacy overseas. I said, Roger that, boss. Who wouldn't want to sign up for that?
Let's go. Trump says he'll attend the Georgia-Alabama football game this weekend. That'll be incredible, but the Secret Service has their hands full, and based on what I've seen from Ronald McDonald Rowe, I'm not feeling too good about the security this weekend in Tuscaloosa. Jurors are deciding if Ahmad Alissa, who's on trial, was sane or insane when he gunned down 10 people at the King Supers in Boulder 3 years ago. They began deliberations Friday after closing arguments. Prosecutors claim Ahmad Alissa planned the massacre, while the defense maintains he suffers from mental illness and didn't know right from wrong. Drivers may notice more officers get targeting speeders in or near school and construction zones. Colorado State Patrol is adding extra troopers and partnering with local agencies to do additional patrols. See, we've got Broncos.
It's goal to go, so they got to get it in there somehow. Aiden Alton lost the ball, and it's picked up by Brandon Jones. And Evans is going to catch him.
Broncos defense does their job, and Bo Nix, no interceptions, ran for a touchdown, while the Broncos sacked Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield 7 times on the way to a 26-7 victory. And Nix said they wanted to get a fast start.
Yeah, well, he wanted to be aggressive. I think he made that decision just off of making a fast start. And, whatever, I wasn't necessarily shocked by it, but whatever he wanted to do, that's what we were doing. And we came out and did exactly what we wanted. We went down and got a touchdown. And I think that set the tempo, set the tone for the game.
Talking about Coach Sean Payton.
The Big 12 opener comes down to this play. Sanders gets the feet set toward the end zone for the game.
Wow, that CU dramatic overtime win over Baylor. That TD forced it to overtime. Shedeur Sanders launches it downfield in the end zone as time expires in regulation. Then Travis Hunter forces the football out at the goal line as Baylor loses the ball, and they lose the game to CU in overtime. CSU over UTEP, 49 in Brighton, 51 in Littleton, and 53 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on this Monday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Fall is officially here, and some very pleasant early autumn weather will be found here in Denver and along the Front Range this week. Enjoy it. Head up to the high country. Check out those changing fall colors. Mostly sunny. 70s to low 80s today. Mid to upper 70s Tuesday. 70s and 80s Wednesday through Friday. Nights will be 40s and 50s. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Always happy to have candidates running for office to swing by and explain why they are best equipped to represent our community. Joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show is Yasmin Navarro. She's running for State Board of Education from District 8. Our districts in Colorado by congressional districts for the State Board of Education. Yasmin, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
So let's dive right into it. Why are you the best person to represent District 8 on the State Board of Education?
I think, honestly, it's a couple things. I'm a parent, first of all, that's dealing with everything that they're, passing through. I'm an educator myself. I am still in the classrooms every chance I get teaching, and I can see what they're signing off on is just not working in the classroom. And, to me, those are very, very important things. And another thing, I've been in education most of my adult life, and I've seen where we've been, the success that we've been, and I've seen the decline, and that's very worrisome.
Why do you think it's declining?
I think we have moved away from focusing on truly educating our children in reading, math, writing, just all of the subjects that we need them to be, productive members of society and globally competent. We are not pushing that. And that's, we're education. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
When I walk into classrooms, I don't spend a ton of time in these government-run schools because our kids don't attend government-run schools. But when there's like events, I'll walk in and I'll see on the wall just like what it feels like is every little special interest organization that would like to turn our kids into little advocates for their special all over the wall. And I'm like, well, we're not focused on the basics. Our kids aren't able to read, do math. I think in the city of Denver, middle school 8th graders are only performing at 20% at their grade levels. 80% of the kids in 8th grade in Denver public schools aren't at their math level. I mean, that's a huge fail rate. And yet when I walk into these classrooms, it's like, join this leftist cause and join this leftist cause. It just doesn't seem like we're focused on actually preparing kids to be successful in life. What do you think, Yasmin?
No, I completely agree. I see a major difference between a regular public school and when I go into a private school, which I have not worked in as of yet. But going to a charter school, you see the focus in charter schools. I mean, just walking in, you see certain things that are just very academic. There's historical documents on their walls. There's pictures of presidents. There's work that kids have done. I see these things that these kids write, and it's just fantastic. And I know our kids are capable. We as adults are hindering them, unfortunately, and that's concerning.
Talking with Yasmin Navarro. She's a candidate for State Board of Education, District 8. Her website, Yasmin for Colorado. That's YAZMIN for Colorado.com. So let's get into school choice. How much are you into school choice? Because there's different grades of this. You can be all the way over with me, and we're going to voucherize the state and let people choose where they want to go to school. Where does your line for school choice fall?
I think, honestly, for me, it falls under parental rights. I have the right as a parent to decide what is best and where. So the location of where it's going to be best for my child. For example, I'll give you a little story about me. My child was not being successful at our local school, unfortunately. A lot of the things that she was learning, she had learned back in kindergarten, first grade. And I'm speaking because we were abroad, serving abroad as a military family. And in a third world country, my daughter received a better education than she received coming here for second grade. So we were able to get her into a charter school, and now she is in her second year of this charter school as a fourth grader, and she is absolutely thriving. I continue to actually teach at that school. I teach at my local schools, and I teach at her charter school, and I see the vast difference in education, in the approach, in the way kids rise up to that bar that's set very high for them. And to me, that's just vital. We need to set the bar high for these children because we need to tell them that we believe in them, that they can achieve, and we need to focus on education. Unfortunately, we continue to set the bar down, and that does no one any good, especially our children, obviously.
Now, Yasmin Navarro, candidate for State Board of Education, District 8, joining Jeff and Bill live. Yasmin, I want to talk to you about the children that are walking into your class at the beginning of every school year. Can you talk to us about the difference between kids that you see in the classroom at a charter school versus the difference in the kids that you see in a regular public school? And where I'm going with this is, what I want you to address is taking a look at the two different populations. Which kids show up prepared to go to school and prepared to learn, and which kids are not showing up to school prepared and prepared to learn?
So this is a very difficult question to answer because I believe all kids show up ready to learn. I will always say that kids are fantastic, hence the reason I continue to teach, because I enjoy being around these kids. I enjoy learning about them. I enjoy hearing their questions, and there's a lot of them. When it comes to the tools, however, and what they've learned in the past year, I can honestly say the charter school kids are better prepared to start the new school year academically than regular public school kids. Not all, but most.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that. And see, the pushback that I've got with when we're judging, we're looking at some of the public school kids is I don't believe that parents have done the work on the front end. I believe that many parents in our society either are bad examples or show up with their kids at the school and say, here, fix them. It's not my responsibility of the behaviors that we have had at home. It's not our responsibility in the behaviors to make sure they're doing their homework. It's not our responsibility to make sure in any way, shape, or form they're achieving a grade level. They've washed their hands of it and they place it on our public school system. And that's why, I mean, I just personally feel that the charter schools have a better success rate because they're able to, I would say the best way to put it is control their raw materials. They get to pick which students are there. At a public school, as you know, you have to educate every kid that is in your district that shows up at that door. There are no ifs, no ands, no buts. Those kids show up at the front door, they're in the district, you have to put them into a class and you have to educate them. You don't have those restrictions necessarily in a charter school or a private school. And that will change levels of achievement simply because you have the ability to choose the students that are there. Many of our private high schools have tests in order to get in. You don't go to Mullen, you don't go to Regis unless you pass the test to get in. You can't just show up at the door at Mullen or Regis and say, here's my check, take my kid. It doesn't work that way. So what are some of the challenges you see with some of those kids walking into public school classrooms that you don't see in other classrooms?
Okay. First, I want to address what you just said. I always say I am a product of a healthy public school. I was an immigrant myself. We my family came as migrant workers. They were chasing that American dream. All right. I was an ESL student back when it was still ESL. It's no longer called ESL. So I do believe that public schools can be successful. That's a big, big thing for me. I truly believe in public school education. I do. However, we've involved too many politics into our schools. And I think that strips away a lot of the focus on what needs to happen, which is academics. Now, as far as the second question that you mentioned, I believe that it's kind of like what I said before, where the kids are just come better prepared academically. And because I've worked with both sectors, charter, public school, right? I can truly say that, kids are going to be kids all the way around. There is no child that is cookie cutter compared to the next child. And we have to make sure that we address the differences in education. A charter school, I believe, gives parents the option to see something different, because it's whatever's being taught in the regular public schools is just not serving them as a family and as their students focus education. So I think it's important to note that I've seen many successes in regular public school too. I've had phenomenal kids, students that I've taught in regular public school, So honestly, it is very important, the level of parent involvement. And I think that's a big, big focus because what I do notice, one big difference in between charter and public and regular public school that I've noticed is discipline. And I can tell you, I walked into a charter school, students are addressing me as Mrs. Navarro. They'll say good morning. They have all these social skills that are super amazing. And you know that, they've been getting taught at home to do these things, but also they know what is expected every single day. They know that we will start the classroom within bell rings, we start class, period. Whereas in a regular public school, it takes me 10 to 15 minutes to get my students situated to get started on a lesson, and we've already lost 15 minutes of education.
I think you're exactly right. And Yasmin Navarro, who is a candidate for our State Board of Education out of Congressional District 8, I think you're exactly right. And what I will point to is a huge example that everyone will remember here in our audience is the employees at East High School who were shot by a student because that kid had been kicked out of, I believe it was either Overland or Gateway, for firearms offenses already. And we, based on how the state is structured, we had to put him into a school. There was nothing else that we could do at that time. So the only solution that the state has was to take this child who had already been kicked out of a school for firearms related behaviors and put him into another public school in a different district right next to regular kids who, as you're talking about, were trying to achieve as hard as they possibly could. And that's hard. It's hard for a community. It's hard for you as a teacher. It's hard for a principal because you don't have those mechanisms of discipline that you do in the charter schools. You're absolutely right. That's part of it. That's absolutely part of it.
I've got 3 things we could do to improve, but when I say them, I will never be elected to State Board of Education. 1, I want the 10 Commandments back in the classroom. Number 2, I want armed teachers. And number 3, I want corporal punishment back in the classrooms. You do that, a little spanking might get them in order. But I digress. All right, we're talking to Yasmin Navarro. She's a candidate for State Board of Education. Yasmin, I want you to give us insight on the current State Board of Education. What's its makeup, and what's it doing right and wrong?
Right now, we have, as Republicans, we have a minority. It's very scary to think if we lose my seat, we would have a super minority, and that could get us into a whole lot of trouble, in my opinion. What I think they're doing right is that I truly do believe that everybody that works with children, right, even if it's not hands-on as a teacher or as a principal or things of that nature, they, in their mind, they do have the best intention at heart. Okay, I will give them that. However, the execution is not great. I think that our current state board has focused too much on politics, unfortunately, and a cookie cutter education. And like I mentioned before, children do not learn the same way. I can have a group of 30 students, and I have to figure out how to get through every single one of them. Can you imagine that kind of pressure? Our teachers do this every single day. And I'm just so thankful for all those teachers that do it every single day because they're passionate, because they love their students. And I think we need our state board to get back to just focusing on academics and doing right by all of our children, not just by, what's popular right now, right? And I feel like we've done that a little too much. We need to get back. We need to make sure that these kids are globally competent, that they're productive members of societies, and that we serve our children and we serve our families correctly.
Yasmin Navarro, she's a candidate for State Board of Education, District 8. Her website, yasminforcolorado.com. That's spelled YAZMINFOR and then Colorado.com. Yasmin, thanks so much for taking time to be on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. One of the many things you're going to have to vote on. We're going to get those ballots, and it's going to look like a Bible.
Oh, I know. It's
mailed to us.
Yeah, and it's the longer it gets, the worse off it's going to be to get all the way through it.
Oh, boy. Well, pain. I want to talk to you about QC Kinetics and pain from arthritis and what you may be facing, bone-on-bone constant pain. A lot of y'all think that there's the only solution out there is surgery or drugs. There's this great company called QC Kinetics that has found a way to use your own body to heal. Look, you got that arthritic pain. It's robbing you of so much of the stuff you love to do, but there are effective ways to deal with that pain, and it doesn't require drugs or surgery. This is an exciting new cellular therapy that can get you lasting relief. And the place to go, QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerates your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief. Best of all, no downtime. Local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back. This is the future of medicine. Give them a call for a free consultation, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986 with locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. All right, Billy, I want to get to this now. Big new polls coming out from the New York Times showing Trump has strength in the Sun Belt battlegrounds.
Interesting.
And Nate Silver saying it's a 50-50 election. That means the Democrats need to come up with a contingency plan if Donald Trump is elected. We'll get into these polls to give you the latest update. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Weil in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
A Texas couple whose pit bulls viciously mauled an elderly veteran to death will each spend nearly a decade behind bars for the unprovoked attack. 81-year-old Ramon Najera was killed, and his 74-year-old wife Juanita was injured in the attack after the dogs got loose from their yards and charged the couple. Christian Morena will spend the next 18 years behind bars, with Abilene Schneider receiving a 15-year prison sentence. The DA's office stating the couple was criminally negligent by not providing adequate fencing and allowing the dogs dogs to roam free. Before imposing the sentence, the judge said, quote, "What happened was an unspeakable horror." Firefighters who arrived on the scene saw a bloodied man being dragged around a corner by dogs. They had to use axes to fend off the animals. The 3 dogs involved in the attack were euthanized. The former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo telling Salem News channels This Week on the Hill that the Biden administration dropped the ball when it comes to Israel, and they are at fault for the war that continues in Gaza.
At the center of that is misunderstanding the entire region. They forget the centrality of Israel to America, to our founding, to our Judeo-Christian values. They forget that it is the rightful homeland of the Jewish people and that they are under attack from the Iranians. This administration got that fundamentally wrong. They gave the Iranians a ton of money.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Weil, Salem News Channel.
Billy, I saw the video of these guys performing in Russia.
Yeah.
With like 1 million people there.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, yeah, there's some stories about them when they played there, and then when they played in China. There's some things about things they were told not to play, etc. And they're coming.
Really?
Yeah, Metallica.
You tell Metallica what to do.
Yeah. Well, if you say, hey, then you don't get to leave the country. Yeah, they listen, but they did break the rules. And I think June. They're coming back to our state in June. They just announced the next leg of their M72 World Tour. And it kicks off in Vegas in this next leg and wraps up here in Denver. And I want to say it's like June 26th or 28th. Don't know when tickets are going on sale. Yeah, but the 72 Seasons album is awesome. So it's amazing.
All right. Yeah. Do you think that the polls are breaking for Donald Trump? Here's from the New York Times. Trump shows signs of strength in the Sun Belt battlegrounds. Poll finds. New poll from the New York Times and Siena College showed Donald J. Trump ahead in Arizona and leading in tight races in Georgia and North Carolina. Voters across the Sun Belt said that Donald Trump improved their lives when he was president and worried that a Kamala Harris White House would not, setting the stage for an extraordinary competitive contest in 3 key states. Now, in my map, I do the little 270 to win map, okay?
Yeah.
I do think Trump takes Arizona. I do think Trump takes Georgia. I do think Trump takes North Carolina, although this governor thing is weird there.
Yeah, that's going to change everything, I think.
I'm not sure he takes Michigan. I'm not sure he takes Wisconsin. He can lose those if he wins Nevada, and it all comes down to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Pennsylvania is the the Keystone State, but it is the key to the election. I think that whoever takes Pennsylvania is the odds-on favorite to take the White House. I am more pessimistic on Trump's chances than you are in Michigan and Wisconsin. I think those are going to be really hard for him.
Well, I just said that he's going to lose them. I don't think he wins those.
Yeah, but you were there. I think he's going to, absolutely. I don't think it's so close. I think he's going to lose those. And I think that North Carolina has just changed based on what's going on with Robinson right now, the candidate for governor. I think that's changed that state significantly because I believe it was
so
razor
weird
thin.
to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the details. I saw it come out. I saw this like scramble on Twitter for 45 minutes where CNN's going to release this big thing. So I'm sitting there and like refresh. None of it. And then finally, like a few hours later, it comes out and it just seems so bizarre.
Yeah.
That he was on pornographic websites in the comment section writing racist things about being a Nazi sympathizer, where I'm like, wait, what?
Oh yeah, it's again the part that broke my brain was the fact that he was in the comment section on a porn site. I'm like,
on like a black porn
I'm like,
site.
That's weird. Here's the thing is that it's again, I'm going to assume that if CNN is going to go ahead and publish this as they did, they would have run this through the legal team several times because this is a huge exposure for defamation and liability. Huge exposure. So they better have their I's dotted and their T's crossed. So if legal didn't think the story was solid, I don't think they go ahead with this one. The other part is there are some things that Robinson has said on the campaign trail and in churches that have got people going, wait, what? And I think whether or not these allegations are proven to be true, it will, based on bias confirmation, that if you had any questions about him before, this will reinforce those questions and pull you away from him. Because again, we know that in the last 6 months, inside of a church, he said that some people need killing. That's a huge, huge statement to make when you're running for the governor of the state. And so when he says things like that and then talks about being a black Nazi or talking about the fact that he thinks that we should still be able to own slaves and women shouldn't have the right to vote, all of those things are easier to think he did because he's already made this one outlandish statement. We have another one in the last 8 months where he basically said he didn't think the Holocaust was such a bad idea and didn't exist. So we got some issues. So once those phrases come out, it's easier to believe the other ones.
He was asked, like there was a question, he was responding to a Candace Owens question.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
And would you rather have slavery or not women vote or something like that or whatever? But it seems convoluted.
Yeah. And in his porn comments, he talked about wanting to own slaves. In his porn comments, he talked about how women should not have the right to vote. So this is prior to him even getting into the political sphere. Again, if true. And that's the difficulty is I think it's going to be bias confirmation. If you are a Robinson fan beforehand, you're going to ignore this as the media trying to tear down your guy. But if you had questions about him or didn't think he was the right guy before, this is going to confirm your bias and probably push you away from him. I think North Carolina is in a lot of danger for the GOP right now.
Let's look at Nate Silver's Silver Bulletin. He's got Trump up, but only by 0.1%. in his North Carolina polls. So that one will be close. We'll have to see how the Mark Robinson stuff comes out. I'm more optimistic. I'm a lot more optimistic on where Trump is now than I was 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing with Nate Silver's average. Again, Nate Silver is no longer with 538. He disagreed with the people that were in charge of 538 on how they were weighting certain polls. He's broken away. He's now weighting his own polls. I have some questions on both some of the polls that 538 weights and some of the ones that Nate weights. I think that both of them are giving outlier polls a little bit too much weight, but I feel they're trying to course correct for something they see in the larger electorate. So I will give them the deference on both sides. But recently, Silver had said that for the very first time, he saw Kamala ahead. And that's the first time since the end of August. And that is a significant issue because for the past 2 to 3 weeks, we've seen Nate Silver make all the rounds on all the conservative shows talking about how Donald Trump is more likely to win. Donald Trump is more likely to win. I just want to see if those same shows invite Nate back now that he has said, and I think it was his post, he says the streams have crossed again. And I think he said during this electoral cycle, it is the third time that it has switched between who was behind and who was ahead. And he said again in his post, it can switch again. We've got more than enough time based on the election.
No, this thing could go back and forth.
Yeah,
I do think this is going to be a horse race. And it could come down to that nose at the very last second. I don't think you get a lot of people, though, Bill, who are looking at Kamala Harris going, she is the leader I want to support. I think they're going, I don't like Donald Trump. So I'm not sure that Kamala Harris has enough. I don't think she's a Barack Obama. I don't think she's got a gravitas in her leadership capabilities to pull people in that want to be people for her. It just seems like you got a lot of people that don't like Trump supporting her.
Now, does she have to be, though? That's the question.
And that's a good question.
And the reason I ask that is because we know that at least, okay, this is my premise is in my lifetime, I have never experienced a political candidate that has stronger, more solid support than Donald Trump. I've never seen it in my life.
Yeah.
But I also have never seen a political candidate that galvanizes opposition support against him like in my life. I believe that Donald Trump has a solid ceiling, that there's nothing he can do to go above that. The question is, combining the people that are in favor of Kamala and the people that don't want Trump, is that a large enough pool? In 2020, it was. It was a large enough pool to get that across the finish line. Is it again? And the big question inside of all of these polls are unlikely voters. Because remember, when they're polling these voters, when they say we polled likely voters, that voter has to be involved in 3 consecutive election cycles. They need to have voted. You take one election cycle off, or you've only voted in 1 or 2, you are not considered a likely voter. So if you had turned 18 by the time you were in 2022 and you voted then for the first time, you're not considered a likely voter. You're not going to be considered. If you did it in 2020, you're still not a likely voter because you haven't been through 3 election cycles. So there are a large majority of people who vote very infrequently. And for my mind, it's going to come out to turnout. It's going to be who can turn out their supporters, which, on a side note, is why I feel it was a huge tactical mistake for Donald Trump to post "I hate Taylor Swift." That was a huge tactical mistake in my mind, because that is a large pool of unlikely voters that Donald Trump has just motivated. Whether or not that group shows up in the right areas, I don't know. But that, for me, is one of the largest tactical mistakes he has made in the past 10 days. It's a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
I don't think so. I think he loves slaying sacred cows.
Yeah, but what happens?
I think he loves it. And it just like confounds people like you. People like me find it kind of funny. We chuckle a little bit about it and then we move on.
I'm not
but
confounded.
why would you do that? Don't you understand? Taylor Swift is so important to this country. And then he's just like, sacred cow.
Oh, no.
Wrong.
I'm not confounded. I'm saying it's a tactical mistake because the Swifties show out. The Swifties, there were concerts here in Colorado where you had 8,000 to 10,000 people.
But do you think that they were not supportive of her already?
Hang on a sec, though. The 8,000 to 10,000 outside of the venue singing songs. They weren't people that were ticketed on the inside. People. Yeah.
But do you think that they're not Kamala Harris supporters already?
Here's the thing: is
with the abortion issue,
I'm not certain if they were engaged or not in voting, because remember the demographic. The demographic that she's appealing to are some of the most unengaged voters, some of the most unlikely voters out there. And what Trump has done is given a whole group of unlikely voters a reason to vote. That, for me, is a huge tactical mistake. Huge tactical mistake. Whether or not it'll make a difference, I don't know. But I think it's a huge mistake because he's given motivation to a bunch of people that might have just skipped it and stayed home, regardless of what Taylor said.
Yeah, I think they're already motivated over the abortion issue. They're liberal, progressive women all in for T. Swift and Kamala Harris and Oprah, and they're so excited to see J-Lo on there. And then Trump's just like, yeah, I'm going to slay a sacred cow. And I find it hilarious. All right. So we'd love to get your thoughts on this. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. I'll ask you a few questions. Election today, does Trump win? Harris win? What do you think? Did Trump make a tactical, strategic mistake by tweeting, I hate Taylor Swift? And then, how's North Carolina going to go? Is this Mark Robinson a big issue? I don't know. It's hard for me to even believe it. It seems so outlandish, but I'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text the show on the Dan Campos Law text line at 720-819-5115. For many of us, it's happening. Your hair is thinning. Your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether, well, I've got good news. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day. And it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe will your hair regrow, it's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts, call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com. Are the Swifties going to shake it off when Donald Trump says, I hate Taylor Swift? We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
going to be nice today. Mostly sunny, 80 degrees. It's going to stay warm all week long. That kind of fall cold that you experienced over the weekend, just very temporary. Back to the hot temperatures here in Denver, Colorado. All right, you're on the Jeff and Bill show. Let's go to the phone lines. Nick. Good morning, Nick. What's on your mind?
Good morning. I support Trump, but he just is undisciplined, and he just doesn't know when to keep his big mouth shut. And there's a good
Nick,
chance
they've been saying that about him since 2015.
Yes, they have. And he knows that he's walking into a very, very hostile environment. He's got the press against him. He's got the mainstream media against him. But he just needs to exert a little bit more self-control. Ronald Reagan had the same problem. Maybe not quite as bad, but he was the happy warrior. He did not throw bombs around.
Yeah, Nick, and also he had the 11th commandment. You don't talk ill of other Republicans, and that's something that Trump breaks joyfully.
Yes, he does. And I just hope I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this election.
It's going to be neck and neck all the way down to the finish line.
Hang with
Nick,
us, Nick. We'll
really
keep you updated,
appreciate the
man.
call. Thanks so much. It's been a wonderful show. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com. You can download the podcast there. Charlie Kirk is up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Hope you have a good Monday.